talk about. We'll just keep talking. We'll just keep talking. Just keep talking. Talking. For so long. Oh, we're babbling on. We're babbling on.
Good morning, Babbling On listeners. Today, I'm joined by one of the premier writers and journalists and film critics and scholars of the modern day. She's one of those girls that you see about town. Please welcome Michael Cuby to the stage.
Hello, Babbling On listeners.
This is like such an honor. It's been such a long time coming.
I know.
We went through so many ideas of what we could talk about.
I mean, the possibilities really were in
Possibilities. But then this suddenly made so much sense to me. And I was like, I was going to do this topic myself. I was like, let me do a solo. And I was like, wait, why would I? Because you actually know way more than I do about this. And I haven't seen everything.
I don't know that I would say I know way more, but it is definitely a topic that
It's a topic you
love to discuss.
About. And basically, whenever I see you, we go through this.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. The conversation is always evolving.
It's always changing. And,
like,
and this is funny. I was realizing that I'm going to put this out. I always put them out Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put this out, and I'm taking a break for the holiday we're recording this on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
So this is going to come out January 7th.
Okay.
Which will be 2 days after the Golden Globes, which will really, even though it's a different voting body, I do feel like that really shakes up the conversation.
No, completely. Because you kind of see just like which way the tides are shifting.
Yeah.
And like, even though there's like literally no overlap between.
No, at all. And it used to be like
no longer the
80
HFPA.
people. Right. So what happened there? It was like 80 people and they got canceled for being bribed, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a number of things. There was like racial issues, both in terms of like how they were nominating. Like there was consistently no black people, but then also it came out that of those 80 members, there were no black members of the voting body. So there was that. There were leaks about basically a lot of kind of like, as you said, like bribing. Like they were regularly taking trips. They were getting,
which Loki, like, damn, why weren't we? Why weren't we there?
The big thing was that it was like right after Emily in Paris season 1 got nominated for best comedy
and that's
series.
When people were like, wait, let's investigate.
They were like, this is a little strange, and then it came out that Netflix had hosted this full all expense paid trip for the HFPA to go to Paris as they were filming, and it was in like all this special programming, and people were like, no wonder.
But some people with good taste love Emily in Paris. I'm not one of them. Are you? You are.
I adore it.
Yeah. But somehow I saw that coming.
But it's never. But again, like the thing is, like I am a guilty pleasure fiend. So I'm like, I love Emily in Paris.
I'm like weirdly kind of a snob. I'm realizing, like if it's like a guilty pleasure, I'm like, I'm better than that.
I feel like I am like a snob when it comes to like
I don't like reality TV that much, which is like kind of a flaw for me because it's hard to connect with people because everyone loves reality TV, especially in our circles.
Yes,
and like I haven't seen that.
Being in the LGBTQ and not watching reality TV is like rough. I get into so many conversations. Housewives, Survivor,
I've
Big
only
Brother.
seen Roni like first 5 or 6 seasons, and then the new one with like what's her face, Jenna Lyons, and all those people I've seen. And then I've seen like early Beverly Hills, and that's basically it.
What did you think about it while you were watching it? Were you just like, this is a chore, I hate this?
Roni I liked and kind of sunk into, but in like a depression way, where it was like, I'm putting this on in order to sort of just like dissolve into the air.
I very much do that a lot.
You know what I mean?
There are very few things that like work as well as like bed rotting and like marathoning.
It's
like
roddy.
Housewives.
And then Beverly Hills early seasons like takes me back low key. I need to stop bringing this up, but like the final days of living with my ex-boyfriend, we were watching that, and then like pretty close to the end is when Taylor's husband killed himself.
Yeah.
And it was just like, spoiler alert. Babbling on. In the meantime, we have some business to take. First of all, who are you in the 8? Which is Carrie, Miranda, Charlotte, Samantha, Marnie, Shoshana, Jessa, and Hannah.
I love that you have just combined girls.
It's actually not my idea, but I was like, my friend, Alec was like, you should do the 8, like if you do a podcast, and it just was the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Let's see.
To call them the 8. Who are you? I mean, I would guess you're...
Yeah, I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, that's kind of the more interesting way to do it, is to diagnose each other. But you're kind of a Samantha in the sense that, like, you're in charge of your own life and you're wearing the right things and you're having sex.
Yes. I always like to think I'm a Samantha. I feel like it's like, it's like there was an era where everyone like wanted to be a Carrie.
Yeah,
and then it's
which
like,
I'm still living in that era.
Yeah, I mean, Carrie is, and I honestly, you are a Carrie.
I'm
like,
a Carrie.
you
Thank you.
are a Carrie. Like, one of the like very few.
There's only a few
Carries.
trues because everyone thinks they are.
Right, exactly.
And I'm aware of that, but I actually think I am. If you think about it, because like Carrie, for the one thing, is fabulous, curly hair, whatever, blah blah blah, writer. Those are all like sort of
the givens,
but she's also deluded and like kind of crazy and scary, and like for those reasons I really do feel that delusion is a huge part of me and of her.
I love that like honesty and that self-awareness.
I mean, I am self-aware. Like, say what you want about me, like I feel that I'm aware of the problems.
But yeah, no, I feel like you feel like you do embody like a real life modern day.
Do you know a lot of other
Carrie.
real Carries?
No.
Yeah.
I would say maybe one, maybe 2 others.
Who are they?
I don't think you know them.
Who the
like, who's
fuck
my
are they?
But yeah, I said I would
for
peg
you?
myself as a Samantha.
If I'm honest, like there is I don't know if you would say Mirandan flair.
I feel like I feel like my trajectory is Hannah into Samantha.
Hannah into Sam.
Like
Hannah who grows up and she's
right,
no, that
which is a very like weird. You don't really think
because you were tweeting. All adventurous women do.
Yes, I was a famous tweeter.
You're still tweeting, right? Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So am I.
Yes,
I'm tweeting.
I can't stop. That's the addiction.
It's
that's
part
the
of
thing.
our
that's
tea.
Right, yeah. So
point.
It's like
no, your tweet. Oh wait, what was your tweet? You just tweeted something, and Alec and I were texting about it. It was like, I don't get the peel of a fake brick.
Oh. I don't.
Anyway, what are you babbling on about today? We kind of hinted at it already.
So, I mean, we're talking about awards, ceremonies, 2025, Oscars.
We're talking about the awards, which is something we often talk about. And we're basically, I think, a good structure is to kind of walk through our nominations for what we think slash what we want to go in the Oscars. I was looking through this year and I was gonna originally do like 2 different versions, but I actually don't feel like my tastes are that different from what I think will actually get nominated.
You're a snob.
Yeah.
You said only the
Cheers
best.
to that. Only the best will get myself.
I mean, that's
different?
to assume that Oscars is always nominating the best, which I can't
Which it
say.
is not.
Right.
And in other years, I've found my opinions to diverge from what they're nominating. But this year, like, I hate to say this because I think it's a really boring thing to say, but I do kind of feel like it's a bit of a weaker year, and like the best films kind of are obvious. Do you agree with that? I mean, you've seen movies I haven't seen that like may alter that statement, but based on what I've seen,
I mean, yes. I mean, kind of going off what you're like, I feel like there's there's definitely a ton of overlap in terms of like what I would nominate it for Best Picture and what I assume is going to be nominated.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a few that I feel I'm pretty gung-ho about that
are not going to be in the conversation.
I'm pretty sure are not going to be.
And I think I know the ones
right.
you're talking. I mean, like, let's just say it. Seed of the Sacred Fig, you were telling me the other day it was like your number one film of the year. I haven't seen it, which is a sin on my end.
I have a screener. You can.
Oh, really? Wait, please. Yes. Oh, I'll watch after this.
But it is, The Seed of the Sacred Fig is my favorite film of the year.
What is the log line on that one? If I may?
So it is basically, it's set in Iran, and it's about this man who works for the government. He gets promoted, and it's like kind of. But he lives at home with 4 women, like a wife, or 3 women, a wife and 2 daughters. And he works for the government, so it's kind of more right-wing. He is very much an establishment kind of like government worker. And he has these 2 kind of somewhat rebellious daughters. And I don't want to say rebellious like with a negative connotation, but they're much more on the left side of things. They are actively protesting a lot of the stuff. I mean, it's during the time where these protesters are getting arrested and kind of disappeared almost, and so people are demanding answers. And this dad is working, he gets promoted, and then he gets a gun as part of his promotion.
He comes into a gun,
right? And so it starts off as kind of like this like more family drama where it's just kind of about the conflict between a dad that's working for everything that these 2 daughters are against, and the mom kind of feeling caught in between.
And it changes.
But then the gun disappears.
Oh.
And the dad kind of goes crazy because it's a government issued gun and he can't find it. And he's very convinced that one of the daughters who was kind of rebelling against him
this sounds good.
has kind of like taken it. And then he ends up driving them all out to this kind of like not abandoned, but like his childhood home, which is kind of out in the outskirts of town. And then it fully turns into this thriller, kind of moves from family drama to like tense thriller, kind of where he almost is like
perfect.
Not that he's like a murderer, but he gets it kind of turns into this idea of like this machismo versus like these women who are trying to kind of like fight. And it just
that sounds fucking amazing,
incredible. Like I have very much in the sense of Anora, where you kind of think about how it starts off as one film and then suddenly it's something else. That's how The Seed of the Sacred Fig feels. And it's just kind of I went in completely blind when I saw it during New York Film Festival, and I was just like, what the it's kind of a long movie. It's like 3 hours, I think.
Does it feel long though?
No, not
because it's interesting how a movie's actual length and its perceived length I'm finding to be completely incongruous.
I've seen 2-hour films that feel longer than this 3-hour
Agreed.
Like, honestly, it depends on just kind of like how much because like I don't mind. I was actually hilarious. I saw Seed of the Sacred Fig and Brutalist back to back. Because they were the first 2 films that were screening for press at New York Film Festival, and they are famously both very long. But it was like kind of at the end, I was like, they both kind of...
Brutalist didn't feel like... It's like 3.5 hours or something. It felt like one of the shorter movies I watched this year.
It's like, because if it's good filmmaking, like... I mean, speaking of bed rotting, I have watched hours and hours of stuff. Like, I can do it. It's just I need to be entertained.
No, it's possible. But I have felt with several movies this year, I was like... if I had a watch, I would check it. But
I just recently saw Maria.
Same. I watched it on Netflix, like in this very room we sit in now.
I had been waiting to see it in a theater, so I was waiting for a 4-year consideration screening. So I went to go see it finally 2 days ago. That was honestly a movie I was like...
It took forever. I mean, I had the luxury of watching it. I have a projector, so I mean, it's a shitty projector. And in the case of Brutalist and Maria, honestly, I kind of wish I had gone to a theater just because the image is big from my projector, but it's not super crisp. It's fine. And so... but anyway, I checked my phone a lot during Maria, and I was pretty disappointed because... Like, I love Pablo Larraín. I loved Spencer. I loved Jackie.
I'm a huge fan of both.
Like, Spencer was one of my... I forget what else was up that year, but I would have maybe put it as, like, my Best Picture pick. I mean, I loved it. I
mean, it's a great
Kristen
film,
Stewart.
and I mean, I love Kristen's performance.
Yeah, and Jackie too. I really liked.
Yes, I was a fan of both. Like, I was like, you know what? I was like, Pablo, if this is what you want to do, it doesn't need to be a trilogy. You can keep doing it. But then I saw Maria, and I was like, actually, maybe stop.
I mean, with Maria, it's like it just wasn't compelling. It wasn't interesting. Obviously, Angelina Jolie is stunning,
gorgeous,
and you kind of. I mean, that to me was kind of the point of the movie, though. I mean, that was kind of the most like interesting part of the movie. Was just like your jaw drops at how beautiful she is,
and like the costuming is great too. And so it's like Angelina like marching through town in that like couture like black coat,
and then like that like fur group with, like, of men.
Panels. Yeah, gorgeous. And then like the cinematography, like it's a gorgeous film.
Always
like,
with him.
They will always like. It's
but
very
with his
pretty
other
to
two,
look
I
at.
felt that there was more than just pretty images. I felt with Spencer and Jackie, there was plot.
There was plot.
This
there was
had
no plot in Maria.
I need plot. Call me an old schooler, but I need some sense of plot.
I don't like mind like a super experimental film that's just kind of taking me, but again, it needs to be engaging. So much of Maria felt repetitive. It was like, I kind of get the point. She's boring. Hallucinating and like she's deluded about her talent, and I'm like, okay, so is there something else?
Do I dare say it felt like a little like pandering to just like the queenie gay guys of the world, where she just like has these one-liners that I was like, I mean, this is kind of gaggy that Angelina Jolie looks amazing and she's saying like, I just go to restaurants to be looked at. I'm like, sure, that's
or like the point where she like literally describes, she's like, that's what divas do or something, and I was like, Maria Collins was not saying that,
like
bro.
I just it was a huge disappointment. And when we get to Best Actress, you won't find Angelina in my 5. Like, I'm sorry. She was good. She was good.
She was good.
Yeah.
I haven't completely written her off in terms of what I think is going to happen, but
yeah, I mean, it's their bread and butter,
right? Like she's like still in my 5 in terms of what I think is going to happen.
Oh, really?
But if I had my druthers and if I had my druthers in terms of like slotting in someone else, or if I had to predict who out of my 5 would be the first to fall off to make room for the other person I'm going to say, it would be Angelina.
Okay, cool.
She's kind of the weakest one in the category.
Yeah, she doesn't really get a big like Oscar-y for the clip scene. I mean, she I guess she tears up and she chokes up, but
girl,
no.
Right? How many of us?
It's a disappointment. That movie took forever. Anyway, so let's start with Best Picture. I was debating if we should go like least interesting to most interesting, but I think we should start with Best Picture because it gives us a chance to like address the main films and lay it out, and then we can kind of zip through the less interesting categories. But this is our 10 Best Picture nominees. I think we should go like back and forth, and because the Academy nominates 10 now, right? Yes. I mean, basically they used to nominate 5, then they went to sort of a preferential ballot where it could be between 5 and 10.
And then they just did, and then the whole thing happened with The Dark Knight.
Well, wasn't The Dark Knight when it was still just 5?
Yes, that's like when it opened up, and
it wasn't nominated, and people were so aghast that they made it a preferential thing. Is that how it happened? Yeah,
which is very funny to think that The Dark Knight is the movie that kind of like had that. Granted, I love The Dark Knight.
I love The Dark Knight,
but it is like
it is a pivotal movie.
Like funny to kind of think.
But there's other movies that were not nominated that it's just as egregious.
Should have probably ignited a similar response, but I guess that's the whole thing, is that The Dark Knight was so huge that the response was outsized. It was
huge, and it is really good, and I actually low-key think The Dark Knight Rises is also really good.
I honestly am overdue a revisit of both.
So am I.
Like the entire trilogy.
I know. I mean, because the first one, Batman Begins.
We can't forget
and
her.
Don't we get Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow or something?
Yeah.
Imagine they did another with Poison Ivy. Like, that would be my thing.
Are you...
I haven't... what's your question?
I'm like not like an anti-superhero film. I am an anti-only superhero film thing happening, but I love... Like, I see everything.
Like the industry only really living off of superhero films. I actually haven't watched like the Marvels, basically. I've seen like the original Avengers, original Iron Man, maybe Iron Man 2. the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if and Thor, I saw the first one, but like, I don't think I've seen anything else.
I stopped after...
It was like in high school when I watched them.
I haven't. I did like a full... I was watching them through high school, and then I feel like I kind of did a full rewatch of it, like right after I graduated college. So I want to say maybe around like 2017, 2018. I did like a full like starting from the beginning.
Like Endgame or whatever.
Yeah, well, that was it. I was preparing for Endgame, so I did like a full rewatch of them all.
Do you recommend? Like, I mean, I kind of have a political stance against them at this point.
That's what I was going to say. I don't. I mean, I think that you can always find better things to watch. Right. There are some that I ride really
Which, by the way,
for.
the show Better Things.
We love Better Things.
I am just now watching for the first time. And
because of Mikey Madison? Is that
well,
what got
you know, Tati, my friend Tati, she was like, you have to watch the show. And then she's like, by the way, Mikey, who we've been calling Michael Madison, is on it. And
she's great.
She's great. She's also, we'll get to it, but the star of Honora. Yeah.
I'm a Better Things. I love Pamela Adlon.
Yeah,
just in
she's
general.
great. I mean, a girl with a husky voice.
Oh, we love it.
It's like Pamela, Natasha Lyonne.
Yes.
Honestly, low-key Scarlett Johansson.
You know what? Her voice is kind of deeper than Colin.
It's
and you know what? I love that for them.
Anyway. So, Best Picture.
Yes.
At the top of my list, I kind of did mine in order.
Like in order of preference?
In order of preference,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll go first. I mean, we just mentioned it, but Honora would be my pick for Best Picture.
Okay.
This is a Sean Baker film. For anyone who hasn't seen it, get yourself to the theater. There will probably be some mild spoilers throughout this podcast, but we'll try not to like ruin things. But it's about a sex worker in South Brooklyn who goes on an odyssey, basically. And it starts, like you said, it starts as one thing. It starts as a comedy, like romance.
It very much like rom-com, like Pretty Woman vibes.
It's like full fantasy being revealed. And so I was just rewatching Home Alone 2 and Home Alone, but I was kind of like, these are kind of like Honora. I did a double feature.
These are kind of like Honora. That's actually really Honora coded.
It was because it was like all his dreams were coming true, and it was funny, and I was like, "This is kind of like Honora."
You find it on Sean Baker's mood board. Like, we need Sean Baker to do a Criterion Closet and pick up Home Alone.
Didn't he? Was it him or who was it? Oh no, it was Robert Eggers, who was just saying that Home Alone is like his favorite movie of all time. And he was like,
taste.
Yeah.
Like,
which, by the way, Christopher Columbus, director of Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, and Chamber of Secrets. Like, why did he body?
You know what? That's a filmography. Not everybody can say that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like as of right now, Honora is also my pick.
It
for,
is.
Like,
oversee.
Like,
I mean, because
like
Seed of Sacred Fig probably won't get nominated.
I feel like Seed will get in for international feature. I'd love to see it in Best Picture and Best Director, to be honest, but I'm kind of only counting on
the Academy can only be counted on so much.
Right. Like, I will be very upset if it doesn't get in for international feature. But it's actually crazy. It's being submitted by Germany, even though the film it was made in Iran. It's about Iran. The director is Iranian.
How does it fit Germany? Them funding?
Well, no. So this is the whole thing. Is he made the entire film in secret. Like, Iran has a crazy like what do you call it? Not ban, but like they're like policies for what you can talk about in film. Is
a picture from Iran win recently, and the director had to like go into hiding?
That's the Seed of the Sacred Fig.
Oh, it's the same director.
Yeah, so he literally, when it was announced, he had to flee Iran, and like he went to Germany where he was basically being held like an asylum. And so he's based in Germany now, because if he goes back to Iran, he's basically immediately getting arrested. He has like a sentencing to be like flogged. It's like crazy. Like, so he like literally him and like all of the actors had to flee once it was announced because it was illegal to make that film. It's critical of the Iranian government.
But that's not Seed of the Sacred Fig. That's his previous film.
No, that is the Seed of the Sacred Fig. Yes, literally the Seed of the. I mean, he's been in a similar situation before because he always kind of makes somewhat, but the current drama of this season.
Oh wow!
And so that's why Germany.
Think that the Oscars, Germany, just like out of nowhere, was the country that was like,
I guess that's just where he ended up going. Okay. And then because the film got so much love when it premiered at Cannes, they decided to have that be there.
I didn't realize that was even possible.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be your language. It just has to be a feature that was made in a different country. And then there's some stipulations for kind of who can kind of claim it. But because he was basically living in Germany. Wow,
that's really cool. So... Go Germany. Like, good on them. A little bit surprising.
Very, yeah.
Because while we are gagged for Berlin, as we've brought up on the podcast before, the rest of Germany, to my understanding, is pretty scarily alt-right at this point.
Yes, completely. But yeah, so barring that, I would say Anora is my pick for Best Picture.
It also kind of feels like the closest thing we have at this point early on in the award season to a frontrunner. Is that fair to say? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it won. I think there's a few others that could.
I mean, I guess to kind of just go to the next, I feel like one of its bigger competitors, I would say, is Conclave. Yeah.
Which is interesting to me because Conclave is kind of a smaller movie. I mean, it's beautiful. Conclave is Edward Berger's, who did All Quiet on the Western Front, which I still haven't seen.
It's fine. Like it's gorgeously, like really greatly, like incredibly directed. Like it, very much in the same thing with Conclave, where it's like you get these like tableaus, almost like these images of But in the same way that it's like one of the things that I enjoy the most about Conclave is like. It is this kind of trashy, pulpy. It's literally based on an airport novel. And it
really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Conclave is like a novel that is like literally sold in airports because it's a very
That's
like
so
quick
funny.
to read gossip. I mean, it's the film,
which I gag for airport novels, by the way. Like, let a book be quick to read,
right?
You know,
it's like I don't need like a beach read. Like I don't necessarily like I don't need to be like pouring into like Edward Said while I'm flying.
The classics. I just reread Lolita and it gagged me. It's actually right there if you want to borrow it.
Would you describe Lolita as an airport novel?
I wouldn't. No, I would say it's a classic, but it reads really fast. And it's my case for like not only airport novels are good.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
That is fair.
Yeah.
But so Conclave is based on an airport novel, and feel when you watch it, it's very brisk. It's
gossipy.
It's gossipy. It's quick. What I do think kind of elevates it though is that it's so much prettier to watch than something like that you would expect to be.
It's an elevated packaging for an airport-y story.
Exactly.
Which they're choosing the new pope, and basically it's about like all the candidates for the new pope sort of stabbing each other in the back to try and secure
there's some like Mean Girls-y moments with like throwing out like reveals of scandals. Like it's fun, but I feel like what you were kind of getting at earlier was that when you called it a smaller film is that it is like it's not really doing
it's not a
lot.
War movie, right? It's just like these guys picking who's going to be the next pope, and it takes place in one location, which is the Vatican.
Literally.
Do they film on location?
Not in the Vatican.
No. Right, of course not. Of course.
They're like, okay, it's the Vatican. It's closed down.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking about how The Crown, like, didn't they like film in the
maybe so, but I feel like probably
Buckingham Palace.
I feel like by the time that, well, granted, maybe it was in season 1, but I was like, at a certain time, The Crown was so large that it would probably make sense that they would start to be like.
I gag for The Crown. Like, side note,
I kind of stopped after.
Did you?
I feel
when
like
did
I
you
only
stop though? Because the biggest gag for me of the whole Crown series is Emma Corrin as Diana. Like that really gagged me.
That is the season that I did. So I watched I don't even think I made it to the first season. I feel like
the first season's boring as fuck.
I feel like I stopped,
just start with season
halfway
3
through season 1, and I was like, and I love a costume period drama, but I was just like, this is. I'm not interested. I've never been a royals person. I don't care about the king and the queen. I don't care about fucking homegirl from Suits. What's her name?
Oh, Meghan
Markle.
Oh yeah.
I just like that. That's never intrigued me, and so. But I do like a good, period costume drama. But I was like,
I don't really care about 1 and 2 of The Crown. I think the best part of The Crown is because the cast changes every 2 seasons, and the best part is the 3rd season, when it's Olivia Colman as Queen and Emma Corrin as Diana. I also think Elizabeth Debicki was great as Diana, because I think it was just 1 season for that. But that's where the story gets really
that's
good.
where I picked. I did watch that season mainly because it was the Diana stuff. I was like, that's the only stuff I care about. And I think I went back to watch when Josh O'Connor because I was like writing a piece about challengers and about all 3 actors. So I was just revisiting, and I was like,
he's really good in it. He won
really
that. I think Emma Corrin as Diana, he's very good too, but I'll choose her because she didn't get the Emmy. Olivia Colman did. To me, is like one of the great performances of like this millennium. Which,
I love Emma Corrin.
Yeah, me too.
And just like what? It's
Can't
like
miss.
a fab person, like,
and fab debut, and like the looks and the non-binary tea of it all.
Non-binary tea.
And the fact,
and the serves are so and the thing is, like, I'm such a red carpet
raven
fiend, and like very few people nail it that frequently, number one, but also nail it in very strange looks. I thought you can pull off simple, but Emma Corrin very consistently gives these really interesting, daring things that work still. Like, they never look crazy.
Well, these days,
them.
Like in a post-Gagation Gaga world, I think like people are like, oh, being weird, like, let me be weird, and a lot of people just can't pull it off, and Emma can.
Emma just it feels like it's innate for them. Like, it's like,
it makes sense for who they are,
right?
And they were like a line reader. Do you know this? Like, the way they got cast as Diana is like somehow they got hired. They were like a nobody actor who got hired to be like the scene partner in scenes for auditions. Like, they were auditioning people.
Got it.
And Emma was like the line reader, and that is how they got cast
I
as
literally
Diana.
did not know. So,
I'm
was
pretty
Diana
sure that's
like
true.
literally like their first role then? Like, completely?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware.
Wait, oh my god, I love that.
I know.
Them.
I mean, by the way, like, that all could be not true.
You're like, actually, psych, I just made that up. No, that's actually crazy. I literally. God, I guess you got it. You got it. And I love Emma Corrin. I love.
Who's
did
in
you
one
watch
of my...
A Murder at the End of the World?
I did, actually, and I liked that.
Yes.
Yeah, and Harris Dickinson, right? Yeah.
Big year for both of them.
Big year for both of them. Harris is in. Well, we'll get to it.
Yes.
Baby Girl and Nosferatu will both come up, but anyway, Conclave to me will come in my list, but more to say there. I mean, it's
I'm just like.
Ralph Fiennes is the main guy. He is really good.
I think the cast is uniform. The thing about Conclave, the cast uniformly excellent. The production design great, costume design great. I feel like every element works. It fires on all cylinders, and it's an incredibly enjoyable, accessible film. But it does also feel flimsy in the sense that it's just kind of like there's not too much substance.
It's just like choosing a pope, and at one point a bomb goes off, and so that's something. But it's something.
It's like, I enjoy it, and it's very fun, and like I would rewatch it, and like I love it, and I don't begrudge it.
I just don't think about it that much after watching it. I'm like, I guess that happened.
But I feel like that's also why it almost feels like the biggest competition for Nora. Not that it would be number 2 in my ranking. It's
palatable.
But
and
it
like
feels
the
like
critics and the snobs, as well as the lay folk and the more like old school, new school, can all kind of agree that it's pretty good.
Exactly. And that's why it's like do you get something at Nora, which is such a passion pick? It's like you either love Nora or you hate it. Like,
because we should have said Nora starts as this like rom-com and turns into this like thriller, like engine, and then in like this kind of really deep drama,
right?
Yeah,
and so it's like, I feel that it's like there's not really many people that seem to kind of float in the middle for Nora, whereas I think Conclave is like no one dislikes Conclave.
Are you hearing of a lot of extremists against Nora? I've mostly heard universally positive. I feel you have.
I have definitely. There's definitely been. I have been privy to some anti-Nora sentiment.
You need to be careful who you surround yourself with.
From people I really love and respect too. That's the thing. And the thing is, like, they have like valid critiques. Like, not critiques that I would give, and I do really think that I have thought about this a lot because I have very complicated feelings about Sean Baker. In general, like,
you don't love Red Rocket. I don't love Red Rocket.
I don't love Red Rocket. I do. I love Tangerine, and I love
Tangerine's amazing. I like Florida Project. Yeah,
love.
Are there
Red
other
Rocket,
ones?
There is another. I haven't seen the fifth one, but it's about a porn star, I believe.
Oh, sounds like heaven.
Is it called like Star or something?
Do you get complicated because it's like the stories he's choosing to tell? You're like, the whole like thing about, is he exploiting these people or kind of like cashing in on these like marginalized identities?
Yeah, I feel like he does return to sex work quite a bit for someone who is not a sex worker, and
that we know of.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't presume, but
you should make an OnlyFans. I mean, I was looking at his headshot earlier tonight. I was like, you're not bad.
Subscribe. But yeah, no, I just feel like, and I felt like watching Red Rocket, it felt like the worst possible scenario of what someone like Sean Baker could do. I just did not like that
Red
movie.
Rocket was bad.
It was just not a good movie.
Like, an example of a movie that felt even longer than I think it was pretty long, but it felt really long.
Yeah.
And just like, I was like, what is going on here?
It was just, But
Florida Project and Tangerine are both really strong.
Both
and
great.
I've liked him.
And I think Honora is hands down his best work. And
Agreed.
like I said, it's in my top 3 of the year. I love Honora down. Like, and
love it so much. I cried and laughed so much of that movie. If you haven't seen Honora, you should definitely go see it.
Honora. We love.
It's so good.
Yeah. So,
movie event of the year to me.
It's like, it's one of those ones that it's still, I was just talking to a close friend of mine yesterday who was like talking about what he has to catch up on before the end of the year. And he was like, Honora. And I was like, how? Because I feel like every time I see it, I'm like, you are going to love Honora. Like,
I've only seen it once so far.
It's great on repeat.
And I can't wait to watch it.
I love.
And Mikey Madison will get to. But okay, so we mentioned Honora and Conclave. Are those both in your 10
those
for
are
Best
both in my
Picture?
10.
What would be your... Do you have yours in order or no? It's okay if not.
Not necessarily. So I have, for my 10, I have like basically a list of
what you think will.
7 that I think I'm pretty solid is going to definite get.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily in order of what I would prefer.
Right.
And then I have maybe like 3. A list of about like 5 that I think are fighting for those like last 3 places. Honora and Conclave are both in my like, there's no universe where they're not going to.
What else is in your 7? And then we can kind of take
The Brutalist.
Yeah, which
Brutalist.
Loved it.
Love The Brutalist.
That went so fast for me.
Amelia Perez did not love.
I really liked Amelia Perez.
I am meeting a lot of more people. Like, the girls are really starting to pop up and say that they are standing Amelia Perez.
I feel like it came out and everyone's like, this is the piece of shit. And I was like, I guess I'm the only girl who gagged for Amelia. But now I think it's been shat on so hard that the girls who just want to be different are like, I like it actually.
I know. So the same friend that I told you who had yet to see
Who's
Nora,
this fabulous friend of yours?
My friend Ian Bradley. You might know.
Oh, I've seen him online forever, but I don't think we've met.
He had not seen Nora, but then did tell me that he loved Amelia Perez.
Oh, he loved Amelia. Thank God. I knew I liked that one.
But so I have in my definite getting nomination, I have Nora, Brutalist, Conclave. Actually, I have it as I didn't make this up. I think this was Kyle Buchanan of the New York Times.
Sure, I'm familiar with the dog.
But I think he had sorted it out as like it's literally A B C D E,
which
where
is
it's like Honora, Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
and then Amelia Perez.
Those are the five
that are
tops.
five that I think are gonna all get in. But then I also believe that Sing Sing and Wicked round out my.
Those are all in mine. Those are all in mine.
That have like are definitely getting in.
Yeah. Which will, as we go through, I think have a chance to sort of pick apart all of those. But I would say I love Amelia Perez. Most people didn't. It's a musical about this trans woman who
former cartel
leader. I think at this point we're just gonna have to do a light spoil, which is like when you meet. So Carla Sofia Gascon plays the titular role, the eponymous role. And at the beginning of the film is presenting as a scary drug cartel leader who's a man.
Yes. In Mexico. And hires Zoe Saldana, who plays a lawyer who at the beginning of the film is kind of underappreciated, though very
Zoe
we're supposed to
gags
believe
our
very
world.
Zoe is
I think no matter where you land on the film, you can't deny Zoe.
Zoe is the best part of the film.
Yeah.
And Carla's great too, but I think that Zoe
and Zoe's basically a co-lead.
She is a co-lead.
She actually probably
she
has
kind
more
of,
time on screen than Carla.
And I see kind of the narrative that they have formed, that obviously there is a titular role, and kind of in the second half of the film it does switch to more Amelia's perspective, and
you get to see Carla sort of gagging in sort of a Samantha Jones costume.
Costume. I was like,
you don't really get to see Carla like eating the funkiest tasting skunk or whatever.
But yeah, so Carla's character hires Zoe Saldana, who is a lawyer who's kind of struggling at the beginning, to be her liaison, basically, in setting up her gender-affirming surgery, and to setting up her family, because she's going to fake her death and basically transition and start over and
escape the cartel
and leave it all behind. And Zoe Saldana is the lawyer who sets all this up and sets up Amelia's family,
new life,
who is headed up by Selena Gomez,
which I'm just low-key gonna say it, Selenators finally got their first victory with this. I've never thought Selena was good in anything.
I don't think that. The thing is, like, I love Selena Gomez. I do not think that
I do love Selena Gomez, but I've never thought she was good at acting and anything, and I do think she's good in this, basically off of the scene where she flashes her tits at
I love the flash. I love the flash.
Oh, I'm officially gagged.
But hilariously, I don't think that Selena is good in this movie, and that's not. And I'm an Only Murders in the Building stan.
See, I'm not murdering. I haven't murdered anyone. I'm innocent.
I'm up in that building murdering. I'm the only one murdering in that building. And I remember like the first two seasons. Both Martin Short and Steve Martin both were nominated, and Selena was very. Even though it's a three-hander. They would. The two of them would crowd into the same category, and she wouldn't even make it into like the single category.
Was she nominated in lead or supporting comedy?
They're all leads. She finally got it this most recent season.
Well, she's now kind of being heralded as the new critical darling. I mean, because the thing about Amelia Perez, it doesn't make sense, but Amelia Perez won Cannes Best Actress. Is it for all four of them? Which
there's a fourth girl.
She's barely a character. Bitch, what are you doing here? You didn't deserve Cannes Best Actress. I mean, all love to the doll.
A great performance, but she's literally in the movie for minutes.
Right.
Like it's kind of it's not even really like a character. Like she's kind of like a figment more than anything, which is very. I remember watching that. I was like, this can't. Literally, I remember this because the Cannes stuff had happened after I already saw. It had happened already when I finally saw it, and I remember getting out, being like, let me cross-reference these names because it can't be that girl who got the fourth.
Crazy.
And it was. And I was like, you just made that up.
I know. I could see a case for, honestly, no shade to Selena because I think she's good in it, but it would have been like a Carla and Zoe thing.
That's what I think. I would not. And I think it's honestly, I think it is going to still be Carla and Zoe. Selena's not.
No, I don't think she's making it.
Selena's not getting.
I have her as an honorable mention in my list when we get to it, but
yeah, I think Carla
I don't want her to get it, even though I do think she's good in it, and I do think Selenators had their first win here. No shade to the Murdering Society. She got the Golden Globe.
That should be her. Like, take that and
Oh, she did. Because that's a short list. Because in Golden Globes, of course, you split comedy drama for lead, but supporting is just one category, and she still got in.
She still got in. Okay. And it is, granted, it is 6, not 5.
Okay, team.
But still, I mean, that's just, it's one more.
But still.
She got in, and so I was like...
I could see her getting in, but
I don't think she's not doing Oscars, but...
Regarding Amelia, I do want to give space for... hold space for the... criticism, which we were talking about on the train, which because there's a song in it that's about like trans affirming surgeries that I thought was the trans criticism, the critique of transphobia, where it was like, you need to get your dick cut off or whatever, and it was like, I was like, this is gagging me, because what I really love about Amelia Perez is it's not afraid to like be politically incorrect a bit and go for it regarding trans issues, which I think most
not
movies...
afraid feels like an understatement.
Not afraid. It's actually like, let me do the politically incorrect thing. But like most trans movies so far for me have been like stilted by the fact that they don't want to mess it up and say the wrong thing. And so I thought this was a breath of fresh air. And when I saw it at the New Fest premiere. I was with these 2 gay guys who I've already dragged on this podcast once. I don't know why I insist on ruining their lives, and I love them, but they were after like, this is kind of transphobic. And I was like, you're not trans. You guys are just gay guys. I identify as trans and I'm gagging for it. So maybe shut up.
That's like, I have multiple trans friends who do love the movie.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I think everyone is entitled, and then like I didn't come out of it really ever being like it was like blanketly homophobic. Part of the thing, I mean transphobic, but part of the thing is like I also just don't think it's that well, aside from the political connotations, I don't necessarily know that it's that well of a directed musical.
No, it's kind of all over the place.
The songs aren't really good.
But you gave a really interesting correction to me.
So part of what happens is that once Amelia becomes Amelia, when she transitions, the film shifts into this new thing, and Amelia basically decides that she is going to take on this new role of trying to find all of these people that have been like disappeared because of like the Mexican drug trade. Now, mind you,
become like a human rights hero type thing.
Mind you, she was literally leading the cartel,
and
so
killing
she is very much part of the problem and maybe kind of the ringleader of the problem at one point. And I think that's fine. I'm fine with kind of like growth and like whatever, but the movie doesn't really seem to try to wrestle with the idea that Amelia was this person. It kind of like she transitions and then it's like she kind of becomes this new person, and the movie is like,
and it just assumes she's like a completely different person because she's transitioned.
Exactly. So it's like she's now Amelia and suddenly she's interested in human rights, and like that's it. But there's no like,
and it's like all is absolved.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, actually that's not how it works.
And so it's kind of like, it's like this, not reverse transphobia, but it's almost like, I want you to be able to like hold your trans character to the wall more, like treat them as a human in the way that any other human. It's like transitioning does not like absolve you of
any other character. It's like if you changed your hairdo or whatever, which obviously is not the same thing, but like just as a comp of a change, you don't suddenly get to be like, well, now that I have a new haircut, I
am a different person. Exactly. And so it's like, it's almost like I want them to be less afraid to kind of like deal with Amelia with like rougher hands, like like don't just like say that,
which would have made it a more interesting movie.
And that's kind of why I was just like,
which I really liked the movie, and I would be happy with it picking up whatever awards it picked up. But
it had its, one thing I will always say is like, when I walked out of my screening, I've seen it twice now, when I walked out of my first screening, I was like, I understand the hype in the sense that it feels like a crowd pleaser of a movie.
I gasped multiple times. Big. It was like, whoa, like in the way that Conclave feels so small, this feels really big to me.
Exactly.
And like kind of grand and epic.
It's like shooting for the rafters.
It's a musical.
It is like pushing, to like,
it's bold.
The nosebleeds. Like, it's
there's
like
choreo, there's songs, like
It's all there.
Which that for me, I'm a sucker for that. And spoiler alert, my number 2 pick is Wicked, which we will get into. But
yes.
why don't we? So what were your 5 floaters too?
So my 5 floaters, A Complete Unknown, which I'm not rooting for that movie at all. I just
recently saw it, and actually I sort of liked it more than I thought I would.
I think Timothée Chalamet is great.
And I didn't realize all the singing was live and not synthesized with the real voices, which
is the case with Maria and Angelina.
Yeah, and
she was doing some
right. Marion Cotillard and La Vie en Rose, which I gagged for that movie.
Mother. Let's talk about Mother.
God, Mother's Day early this year. That was unbelievable. But she was playing Edith Piaf, the famous French singer, and they used Edith's real voice, which I get, and I don't have a problem with.
They did the same thing with Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Because with all of those,
worse biopic. But,
although I will say, low-key, I remember seeing Bohemian Rhapsody and crying a lot, but I am still pissed.
I had fun in the theater, honestly. Granted, I saw it in IMAX. It was huge. That final scene where it's just a recreation of the concert. I was like, my foot was tapping.
No, I was tapping. I was gagged a bit. My foot was gagged a bit.
I was like, stop. But I think Timmy was great. And the thing is, with A Complete Unknown,
it's pretty impressive that he sang like that. He sounds like Bob Dylan. He sounds really good.
He is, I will say, shout out to Club Chalamet. You are Timothée Chalamet is one of our generation's greats. Yeah. Without a doubt. If you were doubting before A Complete Unknown, you cannot now.
It is the mark of a new milestone for him.
Completely. Yeah. It's impossible to overstate how incredible he is in that performance. Yeah. I also think Monica Barbara
when we get to supporting actress, you'll find her to be in my list.
She's great.
She's amazing. I'm a huge Joan Baez stan.
I saw it with my friend. I know who Joan Baez is, but I'm not a listener.
I weirdly discovered her somehow, just Spotify fed me one of her songs once, and I was like, who is this? And I got really into her, and then I actually was really into, before this movie ever came on my radar, I didn't even know she was a big part of the movie. It turns out Joan Baez is a big part of A Complete Unknown, but there's an album called Baez Does Dylan that's just all Baez covers of Dylan, and I listened to that a lot. And then the movie gives context to that. And so those were my favorite parts of the movie because I knew the songs really well. I don't know Bob Dylan's, some of them I know, but the hits, but some of them I didn't know as well. But the Baez parts where she's covering, when she sings the song, it's a house in New Orleans. That actually isn't a Bob Dylan cover, but is just a Joan Baez song I loved. Those were my favorite parts.
Yes, I think the two of them are great. I love Elle, but I think that Elle was...
She was
the script, her character's a little underwritten.
Yeah.
And partially, I think that is because she is one of the made-up characters in a film full of actual historical figures.
Right.
But I think Elle is an incredible actress. I just don't necessarily... She didn't shine for me in this film because I just felt but I think that was really a credit to the script.
Someone tweeted the other day that a picture of Elle Fanning in an amazing dress, because she has great red carpet style too, and they were the fact that this girl looks the way she looks because she's beautiful and interesting looking and has the talent she has because she's a really good actress.
And the pedigree. She was, Dakota had already paved the way for her to just I
just saw a video of the two of them when they were 5, and it was crazy.
There's been a lot of videos of them going viral, of them their holidays. They seem so much. I want to hang out with them.
I know. They seem so fun. Photo where Elle is on the table and Dakota's that reminds me of my own sister. And
I know they'd be carrying.
But the tweet was that you look like this and that you have this talent and aren't the most famous person in the world is crazy, which I kind of agree with. She's famous obviously, but
yeah, no, you would think that she would have had more of just in general a moment,
a bigger, because she's great on The Great.
I was going to say, speaking of Nicholas Hoult.
Speaking of Nicholas Hoult.
The Great
Nicholas
Unfairly Canceled. That show
was it canceled?
Yes, that show should have run. It was one of those shows that was consistently acknowledged by the Emmys, but never really seemed to find. It never won, but it also never really seemed to find a viewership.
Yeah.
Like, the
Right,
people
right.
that
It
were
was kind of
watching were
critically-
watching and they loved it.
I watched
but like,
back in the day. I was watching and I was gagging. Yeah, it's
as
fun.
I said, I love a period
And I
drama,
also
but I
have
love it when
always
it's
been a
racy
long time
and
fan
hot.
of a racy hot period drama is
Yes.
heaven. And this one too, like, still felt authentic. I think sometimes, I mean, I didn't really watch much of Bridgerton, and that, so I actually would be speaking out of my ass to say this, but I feel like maybe that's an example where it sort of goes too modern. I just remember there's like all these orchestral covers
the Vitamin Street Quartet covers of like Ariana Grande
like Taylor
songs.
Swift,
Yes.
and I was like, okay, like I'm being taken out of it.
I will watch Bridgerton until on my dying bed, but it will never like be that girl to me. So it's gonna be the show that it's like whenever I see new episodes, I'm gonna watch them.
And of
but
course, I love
like,
sex
fine.
scenes, and
Yes.
but I actually feel like I remember watching it. I mean, like this isn't. I wanted like full cock shaft ball.
Oh well, yeah.
I
you're
know.
not.
I guess I'm.
It's
asking
just
for
like
something
ultimately,
that's
it's
not
like
possible.
I guess it's not a family show, but it's still like
it's still
designed.
palatable.
Right, exactly. It's not giving you HBO after 10 p.m.
Right.
Like it's like.
Did HBO really used to have like full on porn? Or the
It was like soft porn.
porn.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Which is sometimes even better. Yeah.
You get, and you know, it's like giving you like everything that happens, but you know, like the plot before they start having
which
sex.
I love.
Like,
I really do think like one of the great achievements that is available to us in film that hasn't happened yet, and if you want to collaborate on me in creating this, is like imagine there's a feature-length movie that is really high execution, like Sean Baker, Edward Berger levels of like well done filmmaking, but it is like fully like hardcore porn.
I mean, that had like.
Has that happened? I mean, actually,
like,
the
back in
script
the
I'm
day-
working on is kind of like that.
I mean, like back in the day, they used to like there's the famous one, The Boys in the Sand.
Oh,
Which was
gay?
like, it's fully it's like a gay porn that's
Oh,
like set in
neat.
Fire Island, I think,
and it has a good plot.
and it was like a film, like a 90-minute film that was like playing in theaters.
Oh,
like that was like the era of like
porn playing in movie theaters.
Yeah, like what's
Which
the
take us back
famous
to
one?
that.
Deep Throat.
Oh, Deep Throat.
That was like
Deep
that
Throat.
era when it was people were like making full-length porn films and like you could like watch it. I was obviously probably still like not ultimate. It was still not going to be ultimately giving you like OnlyFans like
Meryl
pure like
Streep.
hardcore, but like they were
Is
definitely
Deep
fucking.
Throat what Don John is about? No, I'm getting it wrong.
Don John, the movie with what's his
face?
name? Joseph
Yeah,
Gordon-Levitt.
just one of it. And Scarlett Johansson.
Is that movie about?
Speaking of our husky,
I
queen.
have seen the movie, but I'm like, I can't remember what that movie is about at all.
I haven't seen
I remember like I literally can like see the movie poster, but I'm like, what was
I
that
can see the
movie
poster
about?
too. I think it was about a porn addict.
Yes,
But I haven't seen it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I have seen that again years ago. That was like the Hangover era.
Deep
Like
Throat.
it was like such a different era of like
those were the days.
film. Like of like that was like
It was a weird time in film.
I
It
was
was an
talking about.
extremely masculine age of film.
Yes,
I mean, yeah.
yes, completely. But I was like thinking about that era because I was talking recently to AJ actually after we saw Baby Girl, and I was talking about Night Bitch, and I was like,
which I haven't seen.
Night Bitch. I was like, it
The trailer
feels
looks
like
so bad.
it feels like it's of that time, not in terms of the masculinity of because obviously this is a very feminist minded film, but it feels like this like ultra glossy like studio comedy in a way, then with just like these odd quirky features.
We're talking about Night Bitch or Baby
About
Girl?
Night Bitch.
Oh yeah.
Baby Girl I loved. I did not really like Night Bitch, but I thought it was like it was kind of because it
It's
felt
such a
like
shame and a shock because Marielle Heller, who directed Night Bitch, is one of my favorite
I
directors.
love her. Can You Ever Forgive Me and the Mr. Rogers one,
and Diary of a Teenage Girl, which was her first film, which
Oh my
she
God,
first.
yes.
It was a graphic novel that I ended up reading because I was so obsessed with the movie that she adapted into a play. I think a one-woman off-Broadway show, and then adapted the play into a movie, and that was in my like Letterboxd top 4 for forever. It's got Alexander Skarsgård, Kristen Wiig, and it's about like this. And Belle Powley playing this girl who like has an affair with her mom's boyfriend. Oops. It's really good.
But yeah,
Anyway,
no,
I love Marielle Heller.
This feels definitely like her sellout in not a good way.
It's too bad because Amy Adams. I also love, like, she's so good at Enchanted.
I also love Scoot McNairy.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a great
Speaking
cast.
of a great unknown, of a complete unknown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Him playing like a mute. But you know what? He ate it. He's a good actor. I love
really
him.
good.
Like,
He was good in that season of True Detective.
Yes.
The Mahershala Ali season, I think, which I watched most of, but then fell
Yeah, I
off.
feel like I did not finish that season. Love Mahershala though.
Yeah.
So I had a complete unknown.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wait. What else is in your 5?
A complete unknown.
Peripherals.
Nickel Boys,
which I haven't seen.
Which
and I'm really
seen.
embarrassed, but I love Colson Whitehead, the author who the movie is based off the book. Yeah.
Nickel Boys would be what I would choose. I also have
as Best Picture.
That would be what I would put into the top 10.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I don't want to complete unknown there, but I feel like it's a very good chance that it's going to end up there.
Yeah.
Nickel Boys, I feel like is on the bubble, and that would be the first one I would move up because Nickel Boys is in my top 5 of the year at the very least.
I've heard it's amazing, and I do know it to be like really unique in that it is shot from like a first person perspective, and like so you're not even seeing, for the most part, correct me if I'm wrong, the main character, because it's like the camera is their eyeballs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I also have Ramel Ross in my best director.
Okay.
I think he's also on the bubble for best director.
I hope he gets in, having not even seen the movie, but just based on that alone, and from what I hear, it works.
Yes, well, because in a lot of ways, it reminds me. He feels like the Jonathan Glazer of this season, in the sense where it was like last year there was a Zone of Interest, where it was like a film that no matter what you felt about the film,
you can't deny
it was such a distinct directorial vision that was so fully realized. Like the idea of like making a Holocaust film that's like the Holocaust is happening on the other side of this fence, and you're just focused. Like, it's like, who the fuck would think about that?
Right.
In the same way, that's what I feel
Another
about Nickel Boys.
Adaptation that takes a big swing.
Exactly. Yeah. That was like, and it's what's really funny is I didn't read the book until after seeing the movie for the first time.
And is it a faithful adaptation?
It is a faithful adaptation, but what shocked me is I kind of assumed that the book would be in first person because the film is.
Right.
Like, so I was like, what like a clever way to adapt someone talking about themselves.
Because that's always the age-old question about adaptation is like when it's an interior book that's like following stream of consciousness first person, like in their head, it's like, how do you
like how the fuck is Yorgos gonna adapt My Year of Rest and Relaxation?
Is he?
Yes. I don't know when it's gonna happen.
I'm completely happy to hear that. That's amazing.
I mean,
that's like one of my favorite books ever.
It was announced years ago. I don't know when it's.
Oh yeah, wasn't fucking Margot Robbie trying to play the girl? And like, that's not right.
Yes. Well, I think she might have still been the one, but it might have been a package with her producing and Yorgos directing.
Margot Robbie.
I'm not exactly sure.
I like Margot Robbie a lot, but I don't think she would be right for that character.
Oh, she should not be that character. No. But I was going to say, I feel like it might have been a thing where she bought the rights just to produce it through her banner, like the same one that did Barbie and I, Tonya, whatever.
Okay, right.
But I feel it very strongly about Nickel Boys, but I was shocked because then I read the book and the book is not in first person. So I was like, that it feels even more audacious that you kind of read this book that's in third person and that very well could have just been adapted very standardly. Wow. But then you figure out this way to almost make it improves. Like I enjoyed the movie more than the book.
And that's rare.
And I did like the book.
That's how I feel about Girl with Dragon Tattoo. I like the movie more than the book.
Yes,
and it looks great.
Shout out David Fincher, a king.
Finch,
we love
the Goldfinch.
We love a king.
We love a king.
But yeah, so I was shocked to read the book and find out. But it's just like, but it makes me just even that much more impressed with the film because it's like how reading this book. What even happened where you were like, actually the best way to adapt this is like through this distinctly first person when it's so common. Yeah,
I would be wanting to put it in adapted screenplay too, which I feel like is a way thinner category this year than original. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Wait, so what were your others? And then I'll go through my others so we can move on.
A Real Pain.
Which I haven't seen.
I have seen A Real Pain.
I'm like not super interested in seeing it.
I love A Real Pain.
Really? I like Jesse Eisenberg. I love Kieran Culkin. but I just like haven't felt.
I genuinely think you would like it.
Really?
It's a really like.
It's about two cousins who like go to Poland. And like they go on like a Holocaust tour basically, but it's like it's about their relationship. Jesse Eisenberg plays like the uptight, like, you know, successful professional cousin, and Kieran Culkin is very Roman Roy in the sense that he's very loquacious and like, you know, everyone loves to be around him, but he's kind of, and so far he seems like the far and away front runner for supporting actor, which is a shame to me, even though I haven't seen the movie and I do like Kieran Culkin a lot. But I actually feel like supporting actors, as putting together my noms, is one of the more interesting categories this year. Both in terms of who I think is going to get in and just like the level of weight of the people that I have on the bench. The people on the bench are exciting to me. So exciting to me. Also, room to acknowledge films that might otherwise not get nominated. Yes. We go to that. I mean, but just to conclude, my other one was September 5, which I haven't seen. That's the only one that I haven't seen. Okay. I've heard great things about that. I have heard great things about it. It's like it's about the Olympics. It's like a historical drama in the vein of Spotlight almost. It's not the Olympics. It's like a journalism movie. It's a marathon, right? Is it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Or wait, is it the Olympics? I don't know. I don't remember. I thought it was I think it's a marathon. And it's when some a Palestinian militant group take some of the Israeli, or maybe it is the Olympics. Oh, and they take seems very topical, granted in the opposite direction that you would think, but from what I have heard, it is still well done. It's from the perspective of the journalist at a channel, like a broadcast news station, that have to basically figure out how best to cover the taking of hostages. They took Israeli hostages. Oh, interesting. Palestinian militant group that takes these Israeli hostages, and it's about this news broadcast news team, newsroom, trying to figure out how to report about it. And kind of in the moment. Very much apparently seems that actually sounds really good, and I would like to see it, and might end up swapping things. So it does seem to David Rooney at The Hollywood Reporter was kind of its biggest fan. He was the first time I heard about this movie was because he had seen it, and in his consistent, ongoing predictions, he had it as number one for Best Picture for months. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Well, I heard but no one had seen it, and everyone was. I was kind of that seems like you're kind of carrying a bit. Yeah. Even if you think it's gonna make it in, how does it become a front runner when no one has seen it? Yeah. It has no hype. Right. You're supposed to be not. I do think that is kind of a cool thing when critics do that, though. Is put your clout and your weight behind something that might otherwise be sort of floating under the radar, and because oftentimes I feel, and unfortunately my own nominations will sort of fall into this trap of critics kind of just glomming on to what everyone else is liking. I tried not to fully do that here, but for the most part it's going to be picks that are not crazy left field. Right. I feel like it's a fine line to kind of tread, because you're both as a pundit, technically speaking, you want to guess. You're supposed to be putting out predictions for what you think is going to happen, right? But as you're kind of also alluding to, that conversation is it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Exactly. It's everyone's well, this is what's going to happen, and so that is what will happen. Exactly. When it's you could suggest other things, right? And so it's kind of this, but it's there are some things that do feel like they would happen, that kind of, but I think about The Substance, for instance, which is a film that I feel is also somewhat on the bubble. I'm not really predicting it making Best Picture, but I have it in mind, and I'll walk through my list in a sec in order. It's actually number 3. Oh, so you're a Substance in order. I'm a huge user of The Substance. I'm a huge fan. I saw it I enjoyed it. It's so funny. I saw it in Berlin when I was there in September, and The Substance is Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley. Demi takes this potion that creates a younger, hotter version of herself, and they go like back and forth between being conscious and when I saw it, and it's really funny and dark. It's kind of a horror movie.
Yes.
I saw it with two friends in Berlin who speak English, and the rest of the theater was like German people.
Was it in English?
It was in English with German subtitles,
Okay.
and like the three of us were wheezing with laughter. The rest of the theater was like dead silent.
Because the humor probably was not translating it.
No, I think the humor didn't translate exactly, and so it was just like
so crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I loved The Substance.
Now, another movie that I do think I would applaud, and I have seen a lot of people that are kind of pushing Coralie into Best Director.
I think she'll make it, especially because I think the Academy is like, we have to have a woman.
They're kind of scared about not having a woman, and right now it does seem very male. And I would give, like, in spite of, I would be more remiss to The Substance winning anything in terms of its script than I would of its direction, because I do think it is incredibly directed. The script is what annoys me.
Interesting for you to say, because I think it won Cannes screenplay.
It did,
Yeah.
but it's insane.
The script is a little ham-fisted.
It's so ham-fisted. It's also so long. Like, there is no reason.
It could be shorter. That's why it's like 2.5.
I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. There is no reason that movie could not have been a tight 100.
I think why it won the award at Cannes and why I don't have a huge problem with the script is I think the premise is really
it's bold
and cool and original and
relevant and like
I think the movie is really funny. I think and that the writing is a part of that. The performances too. But I agree that it is pretty like on the nose.
Right.
And there's dialogue where I'm like, are you actually saying that?
Well, that was like one of the things is that it was like part of the conversation when it was first coming out was like, does the movie think it's smarter than it is? And like that, and I feel like that conversation is still going on because my first thing when I came out, part of the thing, my reaction to it wasn't, I laughed through a lot of it. I was like, it's, as you said, it's very funny. I was entertained. I didn't hate the movie, but I did remember coming out being like, the film feels overly indulgent. It's kind of
really proud of itself.
It's very self-serious and kind of proud of itself when I think it's a B movie like body horror. And it's like if it was leaning more into just being kind of like a sloppy B horror movie and again it was giving me a tight 90-100. I think I could have, but
if it was a 100-minute movie, I think the problems you're bringing up would not be as applicable, but it is so long.
And I was like, and it's just like to even think kind of, but people were like, what? Like, no, the movie doesn't think it's like making a big point. It thinks it's, and I was like, I don't think a movie that doesn't think it's making a big point would allow itself to be 2 hours and 20 minutes.
I do think that part of the, okay, so like the big point that it thinks it's making, and which I actually would maybe say I do think it makes successfully, is like bringing up a conversation about ageism and sexism and like how
in Hollywood. Yes. Because that is like the first like hilarious joke is that Elizabeth Sparkle, who is the character played by Demi Moore, is only 50. Like, she's not even old. It's like, and it's literally on her 50th like birthday, basically, her boss calls her into this meal and basically is like, your career is over because you're 50. Like, no one wants to watch, because she plays, which is, I'm still kind of figuring out, it's like she has a Hollywood Walk of Fame, and like has an Oscar, but she's a fitness instructor. I think so. Elizabeth
She's like
Sparkle
a Jane Fonda type, I guess.
Exactly.
Jane Fonda has
but it's also like the reverse, because like Jane Fonda started in exercising and then went
Is that
into
how she
acting.
began? Like, before she acted, she was a fitness person?
I think so.
Maybe I don't know the chronology, but I think she like acted and then did fitness and then
came back to acting.
acting.
Okay, maybe that is.
I don't know.
Maybe that is. But yeah, but now Elizabeth Sparkle is basically known for doing this fitness stuff.
Yeah.
And her boss is like the owner of this network.
Dennis Quaid.
Who
is a king who I just realized I don't have in my supporting actor.
Would you put him in there?
I mean, I've always been a big Dennis Quaid. I mean, I've seen The Parent Trap. So like, I'm actually going to write him down in my honorable mentions because I do think he's good in it.
He is really good in it. I would not slot him in, but he is good. And again, so like I feel the part of what happened with The Substance, I think, is that my reaction was based on the reaction before me. So it was like there was all of this.
You had a lot of
around
context,
it, and then I went in and I was like,
live up to
this.
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, it's campy. It's extremely campy
movie. Yeah, and I'm like, and
it's
like I
not
said,
Conclave.
There are way worse films. Like like I said, like I did not.
Too, actually.
Oh, Conclave is really campy.
It's not The Brutalist.
It's definitely not The Brutalist. But I do think it is incredibly directed. It's like this glossy, almost like technical. It's like bright and beautiful and just like hot and sleek and sexy, but then also like gross and like in a very deliberate way, not gross like in an offensive way, but like it's fun. And like I do like the fact, though I would not give it a Best Picture nomination. I like the fact. I was actually talking about this earlier today with my friend who is like currently subletting my extra room in my apartment.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, I heard AJ's moving in with you. That's heaven.
Yes.
Oh,
February 1st. It's going to be a great time. But I was talking to her about the substance, and I was like, one thing that I will say about kind of my discussions in terms of this entire season is the substance. When I first saw it, because I had already had this hype, I was like, everyone who has been thinking that this is going to be Demi Moore's like Oscar play is crazy. Like, there's no way that this movie is getting to even touching the Oscar conversation.
You said that.
I said that like several months ago.
Okay, yeah.
I am eating my words now. We still don't know if it's going to make it, but the fact that it's gotten this close, where we're like, it's a possibility, has exceeded.
Yeah,
I never thought this would happen.
People underestimated it, and I think Demi has a real shot, and I have her in. When we get to actress, we will be seeing that I have her in, and I think it could hit director. I think it will probably hit picture.
I think it could hit screenplay.
I think it could hit screenplay.
Crazy to me, but I'm just speaking again, not on my preferences, but what I'm kind of seeing. I think that's a possibility.
So you've said your 7 locks and your 5 peripherals. I have a list of 10 that's in order of how I would want them to be. Okay. And that goes Anora, Wicked, The Substance.
Gag.
Pause for gag. The Brutalist, which we haven't got into yet. I think we'll kind of hit that in director in a second. Dune Part 2, which again we will hit. Although I actually don't really know where that one will pop up in most other categories, but pretty self-explanatory.
I have it in currently in director, but I also have him as the first one in the same way where I have
to drop.
Yeah. Yes.
So obviously Dune Part 2.
He seems very precarious. But Dune Part 2 seems a lot for Best Picture, definitely.
Yeah, and it's obviously the second
and a
part
bunch of
in the Denis Villeneuve Dune
now trilogy.
Is it going to be a trilogy?
Yeah, Dune Messiah is already, it's confirmed.
Oh, fuck, thank God.
It's greenlit.
Yeah, and so Timothée Zendaya returning.
Yes,
Austin Butler's obviously dead by the end of Dune Part 2.
Hopefully we'll get more of Miss Pugh.
Yeah,
Miss
Pugh.
Miss Flo.
I love
Miss Flo, and then
I saw it 3 times in theaters.
And Anya Taylor-Joy. I think we'll get more
we do need
of her.
to have.
You saw Dune Part 2 3 times in theaters?
Yeah, randomly.
I am actually like
the 3rd time I was like, I didn't need to go a 3rd time, but I loved it.
I am one of the only people I know.
You didn't like it?
I didn't know. I did not dislike it.
Okay.
But I liked the first one more.
That's so interesting. To me, the second one is far and away better.
Part of what it is, and I cannot believe I'm saying this like on the recording, because I have said this in private.
I can babble things out if you want.
But I don't think Zendaya is that good in the movie. She's not.
I don't remember you saying that. I feel like I remember you saying the opposite.
No, I don't know if I've talked about it with you, but I'm saying that I've talked about it with other people. I think she is not believable as Chani, and it feels more glaring in Part 2 because obviously she's
in Part 1 she's
barely She's barely in the movie. And it's not at all a knock on Zendaya as an actress, because I think Zendaya in Challengers is incredible. And she's honestly one of my wish list picks for Best Actress in Challengers. I think
she's amazing in Euphoria. And I think her Emmy win, she has 2 Emmys.
And they're both deserved.
And I think they're both deserved.
But Rue is like I've said this and I will say it again and again. Rue is one of the best acted characters that we have had on TV in the past
especially decade. Zendaya's not a drug addict.
Right.
Like, she's a pretty wholesome
She gives very
girl.
straight edge, honestly.
Yeah,
like, I feel like she has like not
I bet
touched
she barely
a drug,
drinks.
Right?
Yeah. But she bodies that.
She is Rue is incredible. And
I get
think
you having a problem with her in Dune.
But yeah,
it is a little. There are moments where you're taken out of it for a sec because you're like,
it just gives very like,
deliver
I'm so angry, and it's just like it doesn't feel lived in. And that's not to say again that she can't act, because I think Rue is great. So demanding and she nails it, and I think Challengers is a much different performance, but she also nails it.
I like her so much in Challengers in the younger years. I think the older years she's mostly good, but there are moments where, and I think actually this might be,
it is hard to like picture her like as like a mother with like a toddler.
There just were moments that felt like campier than I think it was intended to be, because she's supposed to be this mother with a toddler, and I was a little like, I also just didn't like the bob wig. And that was
hating on the bob. But yeah, but again, I really did like Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
But I don't, and I've seen it twice. I have seen the first Dune probably 5 times in total, like throughout the years.
At home
and I remember walking out of the first Dune the first time I saw it being like, I'm never the same. Yeah. I did not have that same experience with Dune Part 2.
Interesting. I
think it's great.
I think Dune Part 1, I remember I took a lot of mushrooms, and I went there on the ferry with a group of like 5.
The ferry? Where did you go to see it?
I lived in Greenpoint at the time, and we saw it at like Kips Bay AMC randomly, and so
that's where I saw Joker Foladwa.
Which, don't think Joker Foladwa won't make it in somewhere here, because I actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it wasn't as bad as people said.
Yes, it was.
It was pretty horrible, wasn't it? It was so fucking boring, and Gaga gets so underserved.
Yeah, it was just like, there was just no
like
reason.
Disgusting.
Like, oh god,
I was actually with it for like the first 2/3, and then Gaga vanishes, and because I had heard how horrible everyone thought it was going in, so I went in with really low expectations, and then I was kind of like, I also used to work for the screenwriter. Just as a
yes, oh my god, I feel like
we used to be the personal assistant of the screenwriter, so I was like, I have this personal connection. I knew that Gaga was playing Harley Quinn before it was public knowledge, and so I felt a little bit gagged in that way. And also, obviously, we're like little monsters, and so nothing Gaga does, I'm ever gonna. I'm a blind loyalist.
And she is great,
and she's really good in it. She's very good in it, and I think she's definitely not going to get nominated, but for me, I would do an honorable mention just because I love her. I
mean, she did what, but apparently I also heard that there was just a lot that was filmed that was cut because Joaquin wanted less of Harley. Which just makes me hate him more.
Which sucks because I actually think he's an amazing actor.
Oh, he's one of our greatest. But this has not been his year.
I'm angry with him. Yeah, because also the fucking Todd Haynes
He has consistently upset me.
So there was more Gaga. Oh, that pisses me off. I mean, there's stuff in the trailer that wasn't in the movie.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, forget why that came up, but...
we were talking about Dune. But yeah, so I'm one of the rare ones. I like Part 1 more than Part 2. But again, that's not to say that I don't
Part 1, I was
2.
like, I was on so many mushrooms to finish that thought. I was like, I don't get what's happening. And Dune Part 2 just was a little more straightforward.
Yeah, I was going to say, I completely understand. Part 2 is just, there's so much more. It's plotted, as we were talking about plot.
Yeah.
Dune Part 1 is so much world building.
Yeah.
But I think Denis is so good at that world building.
In world building.
It's like just like so gorgeous.
The
it's like
imagery,
my jaw,
I mean, it should win for like visual effects and production design.
All of the like under
Dune Part 2 should win. Because the images he comes up with
for Part 1. It won all of those.
It did.
All of those like under.
Anyway, to round out my 10, I then go to Amelia Perez, which we've discussed. I then go to Sing Sing, which we haven't discussed, but we will. And then I go to Nosferatu, actually.
You have Nosferatu?
I have it in my 10. Not that I think it... Okay. Like, I don't think it will get nominated, but I was just picking out the 10 that This one was more of like a passion pick, even though like I don't feel that passionate about Nosferatu. I don't know really why I wrote it there. Like, I think it's good. I don't think it's great. It was a little bit long for me. We actually saw it together.
We did see it together.
But I really liked the world. I liked the acting. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought it was bold. I thought it was sexy. I think it and I think I actually just recorded an episode about all of Robert Eggers' movies. And I think my overall critique, I don't even know if I really got around to saying this on that episode, but I think just his movies can be kind of emotionless. And like, I needed a little more emotion. Not to say Lily Rose
Lily
Depp
wasn't giving you enough emotion.
Lily Rose Depp is obviously crying, but it was more of like a removed emotion where I'm like looking at this girl like freak out and like, you're a little bit crazy, instead of me like, you know, like it wasn't like Sophie's Choice where I'm like feeling with the character.
Yes. I do have Lily Rose Depp as one of, I guess we're saying honorable mentions. Yeah. For best supporting actress.
She is so good.
That's one of like the revelatory performances of this year, like in the same way that like Mike, granted, again, as I said, I've been watching better things, like I already knew Mikey, but like, you know, Mikey and Nora is one of those like, who the hell is this girl? I need to keep my eye out on her. We already love Lily because we are famously the Idol dolls. Stands, the Idol dolls.
We are the Idol dolls.
And I thought she was incredible in the Idol, and
she's
so like
really
I
good.
haven't seen it for Miss trench coat button all the way up to the top.
Which, by the way, like, what? I think the trench coat looked fine buttoned up. I'm sorry. I would totally do that.
She's up cold. In these New York streets.
A jacket
like...
is for the temperature. Like, you should see the fucking outerwear I'm throwing on to escape the cold. I look like the puffer. What's the puffer? The Michelin Man. But my other two, A Complete Unknown and Conclave, is my 10th.
Ooh, not Conclave at the bottom.
I don't think Conclave is that.
Underneath A Complete Unknown?
I don't know.
But, I was going to say, for your Nosferatu, in terms of just, like, passion, one film that I know is not going to be nominated, but that I would love to be a competitor in multiple categories, for me, is I Saw the TV Glow.
Okay, yeah. I'm glad you brought this up.
Love that film. I think Jane Schoenbrunn should be nominated for Best Director. I think it is like one of just like the boldest, most distinct, again, a directorial vision that it's like the movie feels so like claustrophobic and like horrifying, but it's like, and it's like, but it's so deliberate. It's like this, it's like you feel this dread the entire time. And it's like how in this like just very particular small film, like a small indie film with basically like, you know, a cast of like 5 or 6, like, which actually
Justice Smith, who's the star of it, would be a great honorable mention.
Best actor.
Yeah, I would actually nominate him.
Yes, completely. He's literally on my list. I think it's one of my favorite performances. It's just like the
he's
way
really
he
good and
into
cool.
That. It's like
I profiled him for them. I think it was a long time ago, and he was a really cool person to talk to. Just like really smart, really interested in
film.
Film.
Yes.
But here, my problem with I Saw the TV Glow, I thought it was really good. I've interviewed Jane Schoenbrunn before. They are trans, which is always a plus. The movie is really interesting and beautiful, and tackles transness through this allegory of like this other television world in a really interesting way that I loved. And in that way, I was gagged by the movie. In the way I wasn't gagged by it is they're talking all the time about this other world. It's like the world, it's been a while since I saw it, but it's like the world of the television series something.
The pink opaque.
Oh yeah, the pink opaque. And they talk about that, and they talk about it and talk about it, and I wanted the third act to go to the pink opaque, because they're talking about going to the pink opaque, and I was like, I can't wait for them to go there, and then they don't.
But that's also the movie.
Which is also the movie.
It's like all like the whole thing is like also to just contextualize. Justice and Bridget Lundy Payne, who is
amazing.
Who's also they're both so good.
Yeah.
They are in high school. Bridget is slightly like a year or two older than Justice's character. She's the one who introduces Justice to this show that's kind of supposed to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer inspired, but it seems a little. Granted, I haven't really watched Buffy, but it seems like maybe a little bit more.
Actually, really, you seem like the type who would have been a big Buffy.
Many people say that.
The dolls
and every time that I say that I haven't like seen it,
the dolls are buffing their cars.
Someone barks down my throat. Like Rose, Ira. I
yeah.
have been, the girls
No,
have been like, you
I'm
need to
with
watch
you.
this.
Like, I haven't watched it.
But it's on my list. Like, I really do want to watch, and I do think I would love it. But she introduces him to the show. They both kind of like fall in love with it, but almost beyond an obsession. It's like they're escaping into this world. But so much of what it has to do with is like the fact that at one point in the movie, Bridget's character decides that this show is real, basically, and that she is going to run away from home
and disappear
into the show for whatever. Again, I can't explain it. You have to kind of go along with like the plot, because
it's a very cool, well done
mystical,
movie.
exactly.
Mystical. The premise is very cool, and like if you see it, it will make more sense. But yeah, it just, for me, it was like it kind of set up this world that I was excited to see that I didn't get to see, and I think that was my main problem with it.
Yeah, which is,
and you see a little bit of it,
like you
maybe.
said, like I feel like
but that is also kind of the point.
Because like the whole thing is that it's like Justice's character never gives over into this, and part of what it is like it's supposed to be a metaphor for
someone denying their transness. No, exactly, and that is like, kind of one of the strongest parts of the movie too, is Justice like stumbling through that birthday party, like unraveling, and so like. Right. It would be missing the point to suggest that, like...
But I get it. No,
yeah, you know what I mean?
Wanting that release.
It's like, I wanted that, and to me, part of it felt like maybe there was a budgetary thing that made them not able to, like, show this expansive fantasy world in the way that I wanted them to. And so I really did like the movie. I like I like Jane a lot. I liked... What's it called? All's Fair at the World's Fair.
Oh, we're all going to the World's Fair.
We're all going to the World's Fair. I thought that was really interesting too.
Yeah, I think this has been a good year for trans directors. Like, have you seen? I also loved The People's Joker and Stress Positions.
I haven't seen either one, and I really want to see Stress Positions. The People's Joker, I also want to see, but Stress Positions was one of my most anticipated of the year, and I don't know why I haven't seen it. I mean, John Early and Theta Hamill are like two of my biggest idols.
It's in my... I'm still like ironing out the final, but it's in my top 20. I love Stress Positions. I honestly love them both.
I feel like if I had seen Stress Positions, like, I would be advocating for it in like my 10, just as like a passion pick.
It's so... But I just haven't seen it. It's so like...
Theta's like the smartest person in the world to me.
That's funniest. It's such a smart... Like, it's very much one of those movies that very much clearly starts on the page. Like, it's just like... it's very well acted.
And John Early to me is like the funniest person of all time. Like, both of them are two people I interviewed. Like, they were like two of the first people I ever interviewed when I moved to New York and started working in magazines. And they were so nice. I ended up like... seeing them both outside of work contexts, and like I got they just have been like so supportive and cool,
and the fact that they're best friends, it's just like I get it, like you're both so smart, you're both so fucking funny, and like the movie works but it's also kind of like a movie that no one else can make, because it's just
I can't believe I haven't seen it, but I feel like that maybe speaks to I don't know where is it on Hulu? Okay, I just there's people in the hallway being loud. I just feel like for whatever reason, that movie wasn't seen as widely. I mean, I guess it's a small indie movie. But I think having not even seen it, I feel confident saying, like, if that had a different sort of marketing push, could be bigger in this conversation, because, like, I know that Theta and John are both really beloved, at least in our corner of the sky.
And it's one of those movies, granted, I guess I have heard some dissenting opinions, because the movie is full of like insufferable characters,
which to me is a plus.
Exactly.
I don't get the girls that people are like, the characters aren't likable. I'm like, good.
That's the movie, right?
Yeah, like, the girls that don't get it,
wake up, grow up.
Like, seriously, that's the stupidest critique in the world to me. It's like none of them were likable. I'm like, are you?
It's like, are you saying something beyond that? What is
the problem?
Like, do you need like? I don't need to
like who's likable anyway. Like, name a likable person.
Which Carrie was not likable,
right? Although I do think she gets more hate than she needs. But.
That's because you're a Carrie. I'm like, she doesn't get enough.
Like, she didn't do anything wrong. Like, when she broke Natasha's tooth, it was totally tea.
No. Justice for Natasha.
That was bad. Natasha deserved better. Poor Natasha.
But yeah, so
that would be your honorable. I have like a weird one to say. or I have two weird ones to say. I mean, Nickel Boys I put in here even though I haven't seen it, but two movies I saw this year that I really liked. Neither of them would I actually give a Best Picture nomination to, but I just liked them. Were Love Lies Bleeding with Kristen Stewart. Did you see?
Yes, I did.
I actually liked it a lot. I didn't think about it much afterward, but I just remember being like, this is funny. Petrovsky's daughter is in it, and I remember her being really funny.
Yes.
It was propulsive. Like, I just thought it was of a decent quality. And
and it's hot, and it's horny, and it's sexy, and it's Kristen Stewart.
It's Kristen Stewart.
And it's Katie O'Brien, who I have grown to love.
Who was a Discovery.
She's also in Twisters.
Oh, I didn't see
which
Twisters.
I love Twisters.
Didn't see
love Twisters. But she's also in... She's in a...
I thought she was great.
She's in the new Mission Impossible, I think.
Oh.
She's like in a... Is it Mission... She's in like a franchise film that I was kind of gagged, and I was like, when did she get cast in that?
I didn't know. Yeah, that was the first time I had ever seen or heard of her. But
this was also my introduction to her.
Yeah, and it was a good movie.
Yeah,
and,
I enjoyed it.
And at the end, it takes like some bold stylistic leaps where she like becomes a giant. And
yeah,
I was like, this is never going to get nominated for Best Picture, and I don't know that it even deserves it necessarily because it's pretty surface level. But
I mean, if you ask Peyton, she would say it deserves to win.
She is on another planet. But yeah, that was really good. And then the other one I saw this year that I thought was really good was The Beast with Lea Seydoux.
Okay, so The Beast is like literally like one of the final holdouts that I have in terms of like, I have only heard amazing things. I literally was planning to watch it today.
Oh shit!
It was like the
and
last.
I commandeered you.
It's like been on like my list.
It's
like,
good. You will definitely like it.
And I've been like, I need to get to it. And like literally before we recorded this, I was like, I really want to watch it today, but I had to do work instead. So I was like, okay. But
if you, I would be surprised if you didn't like it.
I'm not like finalizing my personal like top 25 of the year until I've seen it, because so many people like, that's one of those movies where it's like the people love it. Like it's like their like favorite movie of the year. And I love George McKay, who I'm actually going to talk about for Best Actor later on, not for The Beast, but
did you for the end or something? Oh, for Femme, I haven't seen it.
Yes.
I need to hear your loose 25 at a certain point. Maybe we'll do that at the end.
Yeah.
Because I do want to get to the other categories. Yes. But yeah, so that's Best Picture, basically.
Yes. Yeah. And also loose one that I would say, and more close than the ones we just said, but is Challengers.
Oh, Challengers, yeah.
I would slot Challengers. It's not happening.
I have Challengers in a couple categories. I think Challengers is Luca Guadagnino. Everyone knows what it is. Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, Mike Face. But I think my problem with Challengers is I liked Challengers, but I thought the hottest part and the most exciting, interesting, compelling part was in the trailer, which is always a frustration. Kiss. Yeah, the three-way kiss. Okay. And like, I feel like I was hoping that there would be more in that vein. And I think it's hot and interesting to be restrained about that and realistic and true to the story. But I wish that the story had been more pivoted in that direction, because why not?
I guess it's like part of one of the things is, so I was... not to gag, but I was one of like the very first people in the world to see that movie, because I saw it
at
last
the premiere.
year.
So you did gag even though you were not to gag.
But like, well, this was, so before it got, because remember it was supposed to open
Venice last year.
And it got canceled because of the actor strike.
Yeah.
I saw it right before it was supposed to open Venice, because they were doing like
so you saw it a long time ago.
Like I said, like March, April 2023.
Damn, bitch.
Because it was like me in a screening room by myself, but it was supposed to be opening like within the next like month and a half.
Yeah.
And then I saw it, and then it didn't, and then no one else would see it for like a year.
Oh, that's so crazy.
So, but naturally I saw it way before there were any like trailers or anything for it. So I kind of went in pretty blind, other than me being like, I'm a Guadagnino fan.
Oh, so you saw it before the trailer.
Yes. This is 2020, so like I said,
that
so
would
I
change
didn't have...
If I hadn't seen the trailer, honestly, this is why I'm pretty anti-trailer, even though I love a good trailer, but like, I would rather not see it, because it especially these days, often can ruin a movie.
Right.
And in the case of Challengers, I think if I hadn't seen the trailer, I would feel way different. I would have been so gagged for that scene. Right. But because I saw it in the trailer, I was like, oh, I can't wait for more of that. And you don't really get much more of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I kind of like went in blind, other than the fact that I was like, it's Guadagnino,
Yeah.
it's Zendaya, it's Josh O'Connor, it's Mike Face. I loved Mike Face from West Side Story. That was like
Face,
good,
yeah.
like, you know, good cast, and
yeah.
and it's one of my favorite directors of all time. So
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of the theater again. Just me. I was the only person in the theater, and came in being like,
You were the only person in the theater? How did that happen?
It was like, because it wasn't even a press screening. I think it was like one of those like test screenings, basically, because it was about to open at
But
Venice.
just you.
And it was just me. I got out. They
That
like
is
emailed,
random.
like before I had even left the building, they had emailed me being like, we want to hear your thoughts.
That is so
And
funny.
I remember being like, first things first, like I
On
need
the
that
release.
soundtrack on my iPod immediately. Like I was like,
the score
like,
is.
I do think the score is good. I think
want
the
it
score
to
is,
win,
I think
and
it
I think it
really
could.
has, like, because I was talking about this like earlier, and I was like, it's one of those things where it's like by the time a score this distinct has like made it to the end, it has to win, because it's like you're either going for the fucking techno score. Or
you're not.
Or you're gonna have
It would
four
have dropped
options
off by now.
of different variations of like big grand orchestral brutalist type stuff, which are all great. I love a good.
The
but I'm
brutalist
like,
score is very beautiful.
But I'm like, if you're gonna get behind a full on like club score,
It's so good,
You
and
can't
it's a
then not
huge
just
part of
give
the
it to
movie.
it.
I
Right.
think that's what's
It's
cool about it too.
exactly.
Is it's like you notice the score.
it's not slapped on.
Yeah.
It uses kind of like the repetition
It's part of the
certain
story,
things,
really,
right?
because it's like there's all these like shots that are
It's
really
frenetic.
slow
It's
motion.
the same way that I feel
Yeah.
about the edit. That's why I love Challenger so much, because it's like it feels like every individual piece is not
Adds up.
just stylistically interesting for style's
It's part of the
sake.
story.
It's all
The score
part of
and the
story.
editing
the cinematography,
and the cinematography. No,
like,
you're
the
actually,
costuming. Like
you're kind of
everything,
selling me on like it should be in the top 10.
no, it's
And like my qualms with the kiss not being like there not being more of that is valid for my desires of the film, but I could easily take out A Complete Unknown and put in Challenger.
I would definitely say you could take out A Complete Unknown.
I was just gagged by A Complete Unknown because I'm a sucker for singing and I'm a sucker for Joan
That's fair.
Baez, and so
That's fair.
and I love Timothée Chalamet, and I just loved the world of New York in the 70s. Anyway, so let's move on. That's Picture. This really is shaping up to be a conversation that's about the year in film, which is heaven. Director, and these categories will probably go a bit quicker than Picture, except for the movies we need to address. But director, I have Brady Corbet for Brutalist, and I right now think these are in order. All of mine, I think.
In order of preference or like likelihood?
Of preference / likelihood, I guess, is what I would do. But I do think
Brady is going to win.
I think he'll win. And The Brutalist we haven't really addressed, but it's a World War II movie about architecture, about this like Polish. He's Polish, right?
Yes. A Polish who was a renowned architect in Poland who then immigrates to America following the war and is obviously not really known in America. Starts working at like a furniture shop. Adrian Brody plays him.
The titular brutalist.
And the titular brutalist. He starts working for his cousin like at like a furniture shop, and gets a project where he redoes this library in this very wealthy man's house, played by Guy Pearce.
Who I think is really good at it.
Incredible.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so fucking funny. Like,
and,
it's a hilarious...
I'm going to say sexy,
Oh, I mean,
he's
that
really
too.
funny.
But it's a very funny part until it becomes dark. But like,
girl, when that happened, like, I don't want to spoil that, but like there is a major plot twist.
Go see the movie. You'll know exactly what we're talking about when it happens.
Holy fuck, that gagged me.
But yeah, I think Guy Pearce is incredible. It's hilarious because they're both in the same category, but I think two of the people who seem to be having the most fun on screen with their roles, Guy Pearce in The Brutalist and Denzel Washington in Gladiator 2.
Okay, so I do
You
just
haven't
want
seen Gladiator?
No, I've seen it.
Okay.
And I actually, like, had this visceral hatred for Gladiator 2. I was like, this is a steaming pile of horse shit, and it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. I saw it with Peyton, and I saw it on her dime because she like, expensed it for her podcast.
Yes, they had to.
But because I last minute came with her, we were sitting separately, not next to each other, and so I couldn't lean over to her and be like, I want to leave, like, I'm walking out. And so I stayed the whole time because she had paid, and I was like, I can't just, like, abandon her. But I would have walked out. I, like, hated it. I don't know.
Okay, like, I did not, to set the record straight, I did not, like, really care about the Gladiator. It was
it was fine for you.
It's nowhere near my favorites of the year. It was like fine, whatever.
I just thought it was so stupid and boring and like trashy, and I was like, I hate this. And Denzel is not in my 5, although most people like
Denzel
him
is way like, I think the movie is made by Denzel. The movie would be nothing without Denzel. Like,
I do think Denzel is fun, but. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just, it's one of my favorite performances of the year. It's just like, what's really funny is that he acts opposite Paul Mescal, who is the titular gladiator, but who I think is not
No, I think
good.
He's kind of bad in it. And
I'm like,
I like Paul Mescal. I thought him in Normal People is one of the great recent performances.
Him in All of Us Strangers, incredible.
He's great in All of Us Strangers
him
too.
In
what else
After Sun, which I don't even like After Sun.
I don't like After Sun either.
Oh my god, thank you. I felt like I don't.
Which is
I was
major
like, y'all
because
are
it's about a suicidal
like
dad.
film.
And my dad famously killed himself.
Yes. Not famous, but
it's not funny, obviously.
But yes, but I didn't like After Sun.
I was like, I don't get it.
No, I'm like, are y'all like pretending to like no shade? And but I do think he is incredible. But I was like, the fact he got an Oscar nomination for that.
I know,
which is again great performance.
Which I actually think is cool. I guess, and like indie performance, and I do think he's good in it. I just didn't really care for the movie.
The movie I just did not resonate with me at all.
But yeah, I thought he was bad in Gladiator 2, and Denzel had been really hyped up because I listened to awards. By the way, is like my favorite thing to talk about, and that's why this episode is just like a joy, and I'm sure everyone out listening is like jizzing their pants right now. But I love awards. It's kind of like my Xanax. Like, it just calms me to listen to awards podcasts. So Little Gold Men, if anyone needs another rec, is a great podcast, Vanity Fair. And they were hyping up Denzel hard. And so I went into Gladiator 2 being like, Denzel, I can't wait. And he was really funny and great in it. And obviously he's one of the greatest actors ever in cinema history. But it just like wasn't quite as good as I had it hyped for me, in my opinion. And so...
I mean, ultimately, it's like there's only so much a good performance can do for a movie you literally hate.
Yeah, I hated the movie.
Yeah, so like I can see it. But I feel like... I didn't have hatred for the movie. Again, I was just kind of like, this is fine. Like, I'm not gagged, and it doesn't, like, I don't know that it needed to work. I don't know that it needed to be made, but like whatever. But I had so much fun watching Denzel, who seemed to be having so much fun, but it was hilarious to watch him against Paul Mescal, who is again also an actor that I find to be very talented, who has turned into my favorite movie of last year was All of Us Strangers. So obviously, I was very passionate about him in that film. I like get it, but I was like, this is kind of maybe the difference between a good actor and a movie star, because I was like, the charisma of like, it was like Denzel Washington was like sucking the energy into the screen.
Denzel's
like,
the movie star. Paul Mescal's a good actor.
Paul Mescal's just like a good actor. So you put him into like a grand studio film where he's almost like shrunken.
He couldn't
by,
really
like,
live up to
production. It's like you need more than just good acting ability to shine.
Although my argument is that I actually think Paul Mescal is still capable of being a movie star. I would say All of Us Strangers and After Sun are so indie that you can't count those towards like movie star bona fides. But I just hated Gladiator 2 so much that I don't think anyone had the chance to gag me. So like, I still have hope that Paul Mescal can be a movie star.
I mean, I see again. Like, regardless, he also seems to be someone who is. I think there's like a lot of the current crop of like young actors seem to be making very interesting, smart decisions in what they do.
Yeah.
So I think that Paul,
Harris Dickinsons
who
of
has
the world.
all right, and like Nicholas Hoult, like all these people who are like making really good decisions. These girls do not seem to be running to Marvel. Like they're not like,
thank
you
God.
know,
anyone who sells to Marvel. I mean, obviously we all want to get rich, but it's a sellout for your career path to me.
It can suck you dry, which is also like someone who I'm very passionate about this season, Sebastian Stan. I have loved him giving me something different. And granted, I will say, we were talking about Marvel earlier. I was like, one of the only Marvel films that I will say is essential, like just because it's an incredible movie.
Oh, go ahead.
Is Captain America Winter Soldier.
That's a good movie.
Just a great movie, like not even just for Marvel.
Can you watch it without the context of...
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you can just jump in. It's kind of like a conspiracy thriller kind of, and it's like in the film, like that's kind of the genre it takes.
Yeah.
And it's his kind of introductory backstory film, Sebastian Stan's character, and he's incredible in it. The movie is really I've seen it quite a number of times. Interesting. But it has been great to see Sebastian Stan in two really great, really underrated films that I've seen this year. A Different Man and The Apprentice.
I haven't seen either of them. A shame.
I just watched A Different Man this weekend. I saw The Apprentice, actually, LOL, the day after the election.
He plays Donald Trump in The Apprentice.
Donald Trump. And the day after the election, I hadn't seen it, and I was like, this would be like a really interesting day. I'm just curious who's going to be in the theater on this day. But I went, and I was really good. The movie is
it gaggy?
It's good. Like, I mean, I'm not, like it's not favorite of the year, but he and Jeremy Strong plays Roy Cohn.
Yeah.
So good. Like,
I'm a huge strong
head. Like, I don't know if that's what it is.
I have strength.
Jeremy Strong is like on my like bubble for supporting actor. But granted, I just don't think I unfortunately just think that movie is not going to get traction because of the climate we're in.
The climate. Is it just the climate, or is the movie like...
The movie is good.
Really?
I think that's pretty much like and I think like it's pretty supported in terms of critical response. Like the people who have watched it think that the movie is good. It's really well done.
It doesn't have enough eyeballs on it.
It's just, but I just like don't think that, and it kind of came out at this weird time where it was like the height of the like election season, and then he won. So then it's like, girl, I'm not gonna watch a movie about
I mean, that. It's a hard sell.
Get the Trump off the screen. I am not watching that. So it's like, just kidding. But it's sad because Sebastian Stan as Trump is great, and I honestly think that Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn is even better. Like, that really is a performance that I'm kind of sad.
Can feel that just from what I've heard from Little Goldman and stuff. But like, Jeremy Strong, I mean, he's amazing. Like, I think it was really annoying when everyone shat on him for being like, there was that like, New York,
the New Yorker, Michael Schulman,
New Yorker, and they were like, oh, he's so method and he's like too intense, and it's like, fuck you guys, like, I want these people to be intense. Jeremy Strong is so good.
Like, I honestly, it's like, as a journalist, I feel like I was unsupportive from both, because like there was like the initial thing where people were like going after Jeremy for being like that, which I was like, leave him alone, it's fine, he's an actor, and it's clearly working. It would be obnoxious if it wasn't working, like, when all the stuff was coming out about like Jared Leto on the set of
fuck Jared Leto.
Yeah, exactly. But like, the set of Suicide Squad, and he was like leaving
which
raps.
Is another movie I wish I had walked out of. That movie sucked.
Oh god, awful.
Like, Jesus Christ, that was bad.
But it's like, at least with Jeremy Strong, it's like,
he's good.
We were talking about Rue as one of the best acted characters. Fucking Kendall Roy.
Kendall is the
like, top 5.
One of Succession, which is saying a lot. They're all amazing, but like, if I had to pick one, it would be Kendall.
Character, in terms of writing, acting, everything, just to a T.
Unbelievable.
Incredible. I mean, and imagine a fucking Oscar season with Jeremy and Kieran Culkin in the same category.
It's a shame.
That would have gagged.
I would like him to be in, but supporting actor, we'll get to it. So let's move through, because I do want to get to all of these, and supporting actor, to me, has the most interesting bubble components. Director, though, we should each say our 5. I'll just say mine. So Brady Corbet, Sean Baker for Honora, we've mentioned. Coralie Farge for Substance, we've mentioned. I put in Ramel Ross, even though I haven't seen the movie, just based on what we've talked about. And then Denis Villeneuve.
Okay, I have some overlap. Sean Baker, Honora, yes. Edward Berger for Conclave. Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. Unfortunately, not my choice, but Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez.
He will probably.
He's going to make it. Those are the 4 that I think are pretty certainly making it. I think the 5th spot is what there's kind of some space. I think there's a good chance that it's gonna be Denis. I would prefer it be Ramel Ross. I mean, well, granted, I would prefer Jacques Audiard.
Did you say Coralie yet? I forgot.
No, Coralie, I think is like, I think I have Denis, Ramel, and Coralie fighting for that last spot.
Okay, yeah. I'm surprised. I thought Denis would be a lock for you.
There was one point where I thought that. Yeah. But he's been kind of missing out. He missed out on Globes.
Interesting.
He's been kind of getting chopped off, and a lot of people think it's because the announcement of the 3rd film that it's kind of giving Lord of the Rings, where they're like, well, we'll just wait until the end.
Which, how much of a time jump is that? Do we know?
I don't know. I haven't read the books. Yeah, no, but I definitely, it is somewhat more in the future, but we're not going to get that movie until
because I guess part 2's narrative was that it was like the conclusion of this body of work. They should have waited till
because Dune Part 1 and 2 is one book, and then Dune Messiah is a whole separate book. But
will that be the final with this? Yes. Like with this cast?
Yeah, okay. It's supposed to be the end of the trilogy.
Interesting. I'm happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that. Although Austin Butler, I wish was going to be in the 3rd because he was the highlight for me.
He should be on the bubble for supporting actor.
I feel like he's not in the conversation, but he's in mine.
But everyone agrees that
he's amazing in it. Like I would
terrifying
give him,
and sexy and like weird and like.
I mean, again, supporting actor to me, aside from actress, which is always going to be my favorite category, but supporting actor is actually my favorite category because there's so many people I feel so strongly about.
Well, that was the thing. I felt like if Timmy and Zendaya had the same chemistry that Austin Butler had with Leia Seydoux, like the movie would have worked. Their scenes were like the best parts of the movie.
So
like that was hot
when she seduces him. That was hot.
Timmy
and Zendaya don't have good chemistry.
They don't have chemistry.
And Timmy and Zendaya are both capable of good chemistry because
Timmy with Taylor Russell and Bones and All.
Which I loved Bones and All. I feel like a lot of people hate it, but I love
Mark Rylance in that movie.
Yeah, I think Bones and All is one of my favorite Guadagnino movies. And then Zendaya with Hunter Schafer, they had good chemistry. So they're both capable of being hot on screen, but and Zendaya with the 2 boys in Challengers,
hot.
And Timothée with John Baez and a bunch of other love interests.
Armie Hammer.
Low-key, forgive Armie for being a cannibal, not for the rape, but who cares if he wants to be a cannibal? The girl, I've said much worse.
I still think to this day that, which is really so funny because I still think to this day that Timmy should have won the Oscar for Call Me by Your Name.
Agreed. Oh, that's one of the most egregious Oscar wins in it. Gary Oldman for
fucking The Darkest Hour. But that's the whole thing. What's so funny is that
anti Gary Oldman.
It's one of the things where it's like the Oscars had gotten into this thing of like they love to award a biopic,
which is why Angelina.
But then now I'm like, is it going to be a situation because Timmy is in the biopic and is getting probably better reviews for his Bob Dylan than Gary Oldman was for what's the guy in Darkest Hour?
Winston Churchill.
Yeah. And so, but maybe he'll end up winning for the biopic, but it's a great performance, but
it's great.
Timmy and Call Me By Your Name is transcendent.
No, Timmy's Oscar should be for Call Me By Your Name. I would say if I had to pick one, I have two top Oscar robs in history. The one is Timothée being robbed by Gary Oldman, who I haven't even seen that movie, but fuck that.
It's fine.
The other is, I'm pretty sure that Rooney Mara for Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was nominated same year as Helen Mirren for The Queen, which I think is the most boring I think Helen Mirren's a great actress, obviously, but that is a fucking boring bad movie.
It's the biopic curse. They're just oh, you did. It's Rami Malek winning over Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
A Star Is Born.
That would be another. And then I would
Bradley Cooper should already have his Oscar for A Star Is Born, which is incredible.
That was his best performance, and Rami should not have that. And then the other one would be Saoirse. This is not a biopic, but Saoirse being robbed for Lady Bird by Frances
Frances
McDormand for Three Billboards, which I haven't seen to this day.
I have issues
But
with
people hate Three Billboards.
Yeah,
Saoirse's so good, and Frances already had 2 Oscars.
Right,
are you kidding?
And she won another one after that for Nomadland.
I know, so
like,
it's just maybe that was her third, but she also has one
she
for
had
producing.
Yeah. But no,
Timothée should have already won, which would
right.
pave the way for it to be. I mean, Adrian Brody. Okay,
Adrian's already also won, which is
Adrian's also won, and
he is currently the youngest man to win in Best Actor.
So it would be a full circle thing for
Timothée
won, to take.
He would then be the youngest. Yeah,
is he? So he's younger than Adrian was.
Yes,
he won.
Yeah, because Adrian was 30 something. Timmy is 29.
29.
So he I feel like would be like the first like under.
Well, I guess since we're here, let's do actor and then we'll do actress. Okay. But so Timothée is 29. I would say it's between him and Adrian.
I think it's between him and Adrian.
I think Adrian's unbelievable in The Brutalist, and so it wouldn't be because he's not good enough to win, but I would choose Timothée based on Timothée doesn't have one, and Adrian does. Although, actually, who I would choose... I mean, I love Timothée, and I think he should have an Oscar, but I also think Colman Domingo...
Yes.
I have him listed at number 1. We haven't talked about Sing Sing yet. Sing Sing is about a real life prison theater program
called Rehabilitation Through the Arts. That was started over a decade ago in the titular Sing Sing prison.
Yeah.
But it now is in several prisons throughout the U.S.
Oh, they spread it. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I did like a full kind of history about like the real life story behind that. So I kind of researched it a lot.
Cool.
But it's about this real life theater program that is like in prisons, that's kind of invested in helping prisoners kind of, manage prison life and rehabilitate themselves through the arts, through theater. And it's based on that. It stars Colman Domingo, but pretty much the rest of the cast are all former members of this actual program that has
which is
since
absolutely insane.
Incredible.
Like, Clarence Macklin, we'll get to supporting actor, as I've alluded to. He plays himself, basically.
Right, yes. I mean, a lot of them do. Like Sean Johnson, like all these people like literally went through this actual program. They have since obviously been released from prison.
Yeah.
But
they filmed in a real prison.
In a real prison. Not Sing Sing, but in a different prison. And
they used like a script based off of this theater production that they put on in real life.
Right, yes. That was like... It was like an original script that was basically combining all of these different prisoners, like... ideas for a play, because they were like, we want a comedy but also a drama with Shakespeare and Freddy Krueger and like all of it, and so then
the real people who are in the movie contributed to the script. I interviewed the director screenwriter duo for Hollywood Reporter and about the screenwriting, and they were just talking about how the Colman Domingo character and the Clarence Macklin actor / character contributed to the script. I just thought that was amazing.
No, completely. For the piece that I wrote, I interviewed Clarence and also Brent Buell, who is the playwright of the actual
what's his name?
Breaking the Mummy's Code.
The teacher character.
Yes.
Who's in
Paul
Coda.
Racy.
Oh yeah, Paul Racy.
Yes.
Is he in Coda?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And Sound of Metal. Or no?
No, he's not in Coda.
Oh, he's in Sound of Metal. Okay.
Who's the guy in?
I forgot his name. I always get confused, which is low-key not
key. Because he's the one in Coda is actually deaf. Paul
Racy isn't deaf. Okay.
But he plays like... Actually, I don't even know if he doesn't play. He doesn't play deaf in Sound of Metal. Sound of Metal is incredible. That was another movie where I was like really happy that it somehow squeezed into like
Riz got the nomination. Who beat him?
Paul Racy also got nominated, and I think he got like...
Oh no, the guy in Coda won. Whatever his name is.
Yes.
Troy Kotzer.
Troy Kotzer, yes. But yeah, so Sing Sing is like all about them staging this play.
Yeah.
But Colman Domingo is the lead. He plays a real life character who is actually one of the guys who is responsible for starting this program, who was a prisoner himself in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And it's kind of like the earliest. He's been kind of like the earliest nominee because this movie premiered at Sundance last year, 2023.
Yeah. And he's amazing in it and brought me to tears, and he's long overdue for an Oscar. So he would maybe be my pick, honestly.
I think he's incredible.
He has a bigger emotional journey too than Timothée gets to have in Bob Dylan, even though the thing with the Bob Dylan performance is like the impressiveness of the singing live.
Verisimilitude, basically. I love Timmy, but I want him to win an Oscar for something else.
That he really that is a really good movie, because Complete Unknown is a standard biopic, bored. Walk the Line is also standard biopic, same director, but gave more. Reese wins her Oscar. No, Walk the Line is a really good movie, ultimately, I think, even though it's pretty standard biopic, like you walk through Johnny Cash's life. But Complete Unknown doesn't really have the heft emotionally. It doesn't really go anywhere. I mean, it's basically about Bob Dylan's like musical style and the conflict of that.
It was just kind of like short. Yeah,
which is fine.
So I don't really want... Sometimes I'm like a performance is good enough to kind of like... Transcend the film. Yeah. But I'm kind of like with that, I'm like, definitely give him a nomination. It's great when I want him to, but like I really don't want him to... I don't want his legacy to be winning an Oscar for this movie.
Would kind of suck. I mean, if he did win... It would still be fun to see Timothée Chalamet win an Oscar, and I do think he's an Oscar-worthy actor. But yeah, I don't want him to win for this.
He is there. No, he's going to get so many more opportunities. He might win for Dune Messiah.
Maybe
Denis will step the pin up.
Yeah,
and we'll get some like...
He's good in Dune.
Okay,
wait. So mine is Coleman, Timothée, Adrian, who I also would be... I think actually performance-wise, I would do Adrian after Coleman if I'm combining a narrative. Honestly, performance-wise overall, maybe Adrian would be number one.
Yeah, I think... Well, Adrian is who I think is going to win. He's my like prediction.
And if he did, I'd be happy. I've always loved Adrian Brody. I think he's so sexy, his big nose too. I know he is like... was pseudo canceled for a few different things, but one being like kissing Halle Berry unconsensually, non-consensually, like right after she wins her Oscar, which
for Monsters Ball.
Yeah, so fuck Adrian for that, but I still love Adrian.
We still love him.
Then I have Ray Fiennes and Daniel Craig.
Yes.
Who's my number one sexually of all time.
Daniel Craig or Ray Fiennes?
Daniel Craig.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible in Queer.
He's also really good in a movie that I don't love, but he's very good.
I do love Queer.
You do.
I am like a... Queer does... I feel like my Letterboxd review is as like this feels like someone was like in the lab creating this movie in a test tube like appeal to me. Okay, it's...
You don't feel like it sort of just lost itself in the third... I mean, not because it's weird in the third act, but because I just felt like I was not really like with the characters, not really following. I guess just ultimately old school me was like I needed a little more plot in the third act.
I think it loses itself literally not like in the third act, but like in that final scene, like where
in the
like,
hotel or wherever.
Yes, that scene. I was like, I didn't really need all that.
Yeah.
But the whole jungle part, I was down there for.
I mean, I was gagged for Leslie Manville.
Oh. Like the way it took me, the way I first of all knew she was in the movie, and it still took me like
by surprise to realize,
like in some time into that scene to be like, wait, that's fucking Leslie Manville.
Fucking crazy.
That is Phantom Thread Oscar nominee Leslie Manville.
When that emerges as Leslie, you're like, I didn't know Phantom Threads were woven this far into the jungle.
She gagged me.
I
was kind of gagged that fucking I think Queer like missed out on hair and makeup, which was I was gagged because I was like
at Golden Globes, you mean?
No, for long list for Oscars.
Oh, right. Because they do these lists.
Yeah, but I was like gagged that it missed out because I was like,
I know because she was unrecognizable.
Also, Jason Schwartzman, who I have on my like honorable mentions for supporting actor.
He's really good in it.
He's so good.
He's really good. He is.
He was kind of like the star of the movie to me. I always was like, I want Jason back on the screen.
Do you think Drew Starkey was good?
Yes, I think they're
he's sexy as fuck, and I think he fit the character very well. I think he was good.
So aloof and mysterious and kind of like...
It's a weird character to play because they're so like kind of dead.
You have to basically be like a blank slate for Daniel Craig to project onto.
Exactly.
But he still brought life into being a blank slate.
No, he was good.
Like,
And for some reason my algorithm is just like... Or maybe it's just everyone's algorithm, but like... Everything on Twitter and TikTok for me is Drew Starkey, like fan cams.
I don't have TikTok, but there's definitely been a lot of...
I don't normally have TikTok. I just started looking at TikTok today, right before you came. I like downloaded TikTok and started watching TikTok, and it's all Drew Starkey. I don't know why. It was a bad choice. I'm trying to like cut back on other apps, and so I think I've just replaced that. So you just
TikTok, yes. But yeah, no, I think... Yeah, but no, I think Drew is great. I mean, I think it's been so crazy to have Drew and Harris both having their movies come out at the same time.
Yeah, and they had their actors on actors and variety.
Actors on actors, both very like tall, very handsome, all American looking.
Harris
like,
is very sexy and baby girl.
Yes, and then they're both kind of playing the objects of affection for these like older characters. They're much different, and I think like they have to do much different things. I think Harris gives the better performance just because
he has a lot more to do. And like, baby girl, we haven't discussed. We will, I think, more in the actress conversation. Yes. But yeah, that's a power dynamic movie where Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson are having this like dom-sub romance. My favorite part of the movie is when Harris dances to the George Michael song, Father Figure. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I have like pretty much the same for Best Actor. Adrian Brody, to me. Daniel Craig, Coleman.
Let's do actress, which is probably the most important part of this whole episode. I mean, I didn't realize that we have so much to say for this. So it's just like, this is a very epic... I might have underestimated the scope of this conversation, but whatever. Fuck it. Let's talk Best Actress.
Yes. So
I think we're agreed on who we want to win ultimately.
My desired win... Mikey Madison.
Agreed.
Yes. Love her down. It's a revelatory performance. It's a movie that would not have worked without her.
Yeah.
She's completely indispensable. It's also such a decided character. No one can accuse, especially now, like watching her interviews, you could never accuse her of playing herself in this movie.
No. She's doing a full-on thick, like South Brooklyn accent.
She's body and in person, she's like reticent and like shy.
She's
and
a little
quiet
shy. I mean, also
like,
if you've seen her in better things, like that character is way different from this.
Yeah,
like she's doing a character.
It is a character, and she is in it like
completely.
It's like she is Honora.
She is Honora.
Like, and like you.
And she's funny and she's sexy, and then the drama hits very deeply.
And just
she
like what she does
work. She takes you on that arc.
Like, and like but like even you could literally just watch that final scene.
Yeah, I mean,
and just like what she has to give you in the span of like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
that is like the fucking Oscar reel right there.
Star.
Like she's been giving you everything for like over 2 hours by this point.
It's
but
the performance
just in that scene, it's like this shit is in different areas. Like it's like she's doing it, and it's like. And unlike we were talking about earlier with Timmy and Adrian Brody, like they don't really like to award, a young actor. They love to crown a new ingenue, though. I think she has a really good chance, and I'm here for it.
I think she's the very soft front runner right now.
Yes,
I think she's maybe won the most critics awards.
Yeah, she definitely has won the most critics, but it's a tie between, or not a tie, but the one who is competing on her heel is someone I really hope gets into the top 5, but I'm kind of scared might not.
Who are you thinking? Marianne Jean-Baptiste.
Yeah. From
I haven't seen Hard Truths yet, which is a shame, but it's not out yet, so in my defense. And I haven't gotten a press screening invite, sadly. Whoever is representing Hard Truths, like,
Bleecker
go to
Street.
hell. Bleecker Street, where were you? And where are you now that I need ya?
But she is... So Hard Truths is a Mike Leigh film. If those who are not familiar with Mike Leigh, he kind of works very atypically. He assembles his cast really before he has an idea of a film. He comes up with each person's character through talking to them, and they build the character kind of together. And then once the characters have been built, then they kind of all together come up with a script, and then they shoot.
So is that to say Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who, to my understanding, like a big part of the movie is she's like very unhappy and angry. But that's not her in real life.
No, that's not her in real life.
No, but that was the character they decided they wanted to do together.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And so she plays this very unhappy woman who hates everything, doesn't really like anything, snaps at her family constantly, snaps at the woman working at the grocery store, snaps at the woman at the furniture store who asks if she needs any help, snaps at the person trying to ask if she's going to leave the parking lot because he wants to get her spot. But then kind of as the film goes, you realize that there is kind of a deep sadness about, there's like a place where this is kind of coming from. But she has a husband and a child, a son, who both seem very weird and kind of like, you again understand this, like they're living in this household. And then she has a sister played by Michelle Austin, who she also acted with in her original collab with Mike Lee, Secrets and Lies from the 90s.
And was she nominated for that?
For Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
Yes. And Michelle Austin plays her sister in this film, who is the polar opposite. She's happy. She has these two daughters who are very happy. They're successful. They're professional. And Michelle Austin is also kind of like the only person that seems to be somewhat understanding and about the fact that Marianne's character is so unhappy, because kind of you realize that she grew up with her, she's her sister, so she kind of knows where that sadness is coming from. Even though she's internalized it in a different way. But
it sounds amazing.
It's so good.
And it's the really performance of the year.
It's so good. But it's also, it's like, it's really, the way you describe it, it sounds serious, but it's so
funny.
Okay. Like, because it's like all of Marianne's, like, she has these she's constantly complaining and snapping, but they are these clever, quick, it's like, it's hysterical.
I mean, watching the trailer, I was laughing. And I also was like on the verge of tears just from the trailer with I just saw Room Next Door with Benny, and that trailer played before. Room Next Door, like, we don't need to get into on this, but, and Almodovar. Tilda's innocent.
Julianne's
also innocent. And he's like my favorite director ever.
He's mine too.
Yeah, I know.
He's like my number one.
Yes. We talked about doing his filmography for this, which I may come back on and we'll do that. But I just, ultimately, this film.
It didn't, well, yeah. It's just like he needs to work with the writer who speaks English.
Yeah.
Because the dialogue was left a lot to be desired.
But I digress. Marianne Jean-Baptiste. I have her in my 5 as well, even though I haven't seen the movie.
That's the thing. I'm kind of, she's like my first runner-up right now.
Okay,
I have...
Who do you have?
Mikey.
Yep.
I have Nicole Kidman from Baby Girl.
Okay.
I have Cynthia Erivo from Wicked.
Yeah, which we haven't even talked about.
We are
going to do a full Wicked episode at some point, so...
I have Angelina Jolie from Maria, who is my first to fall off, and if she falls off, I do think that Marianne hopefully can kind of slide in.
Who's your 5th?
And then Carla Sofia Stone from Emilia Perez.
Who, it should be noted, would be the first trans actress nominated.
In anything.
I think the first trans person to be nominated for an acting Oscar. I think there maybe have been trans people nominated in other categories.
Score
or something. Also, like Elliot Page was nominated for Juno, but wasn't out at the time.
Right, exactly.
But it would be a monumental thing.
And then there was also the girl who was. I mean, it wasn't her nomination, but the girl who won. I mean, she didn't win, but when the movie
A Fantastic Woman?
A Fantastic Woman won international feature, which was about, obviously, a trans woman.
That was skaggy. I loved that movie. I interviewed that director, Sebastian something.
Yeah.
And he was really cool. For Disobedience.
Oh, yes.
Which was a gag. A lesbian, Orthodox Jewish story.
Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz and Rachel McAdams.
Queen of playing
Daniel Craig's husband, or wife,
yes.
Aldo. I've heard that they are...
swingers.
Yeah, I've heard that. And also...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like I do, yes.
But I didn't know Daniel. Apparently they're both.
No, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Anyway, my 5 for actress are Mikey Madison, and this is in order.
Okay.
Cynthia Erivo, who we haven't really gone deep on Wicked yet, but is, after Anora, probably my second favorite movie of the year, which is insane. I know, like, there's problems,
Unlimited.
but like, unlimited.
The way I knew I would say it and you would sing. 'Cause I was like,
And nobody in all of us.
no.
The wizard that there is or was ever gonna bring me.
Or if I'm the movie, stop pause to let her like
to
fall.
go to and then the little girl. I've seen Wicked 3 times. I sobbed. I
I've
will
seen
be
it twice.
watching it again soon with my family who will be visiting like the day after this episode, or while this episode drops, actually. So we might be watching
You will be
it
in the
as this
theater
episode. No, I have a screening link, so we'll be watching it on that bed right there.
Yeah,
So
I
my
got
mom
the
doesn't
screening
want
link. I
to
literally
pay
got the
for
screening link
5
the other day,
people
and I
to-
was like, it's time for viewing number 3.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Cynthia Erivo's amazing in it. If there wasn't going to be a Wicked Part 2, I would be like, I want her to win this year, but I kind of love the idea of Ariana winning for Part 1 and Cynthia winning for Part 2.
Yes, because I do think Ariana is
I think
I think she's taking it.
I think she's taking it, and I think she
kind of
deserves
taking
to.
it, like-
And like, how gaggy would it be for Ariana to win for Part 1, which is a huge gag no one saw coming, although obviously some of us saw coming. But then for like Cynthia to have this narrative of being like robbed for Part 1 and then winning for Part 2,
I don't think the narrative would be robbed.
I don't know if it's robbed, but
I think there was a moment where people. I mean, I'm guilty party. I'm like, I didn't even think she was gonna get in. Like when I first saw it, I think she's. No, do not like. I think she's incredible.
I think it's the
But
best film acting performance of hers that I've seen. I've actually only seen her in Widows before this. I haven't seen
she's
her yet.
good when she was. I saw Harriet. Lord,
Is she good in it? Like, right.
Like,
Okay.
The Harriet is one of those movies like where I feel about Gladiator 2. It's like I just hated the movie so much, and I was like, I can't even like.
I haven't seen it.
Put it 2 and 2 together because I'm just like, get me out of this film.
Yeah.
But it is right. Did you know like the controversy when that film? Because she has said part of the reason why people think that she's problematic is because when this movie was coming out, she said something about there was some criticism about her being a British actress playing
an American icon,
obviously a slave who is like about as American, like African American as you could get,
right?
And she came back with this pretty disrespectful.
What did she say?
I don't like.
It's such a shame that her persona was so bad because I saw her in Color Purple on Broadway.
I didn't see that
And
Broadway.
I've seen her sing live and act, but singing in this case was really the big takeaway. It was the most moving performance like I've ever seen in my life.
Like the Broadway?
The Broadway.
Okay.
And she acted very amazingly in that too, but like her voice is unreal, and to me the Elphaba acting is on par with the Elphaba singing, and I think she's an amazing actress and singer. And I let me be clear, like her acting in Color Purple was also worthy of all the awards it got, which is actually an Emmy, Grammy, and Tony. But like her voice, I just have to single out, is undeniable.
No, she is. She ate that.
Yeah,
she ate that. And that's why. And the way you know she ate it is that like in Wicked, during the One Short Day performance, they bring back famously. Spoiler alert! They do bring back
Idina and Kristen.
Original
Elphaba and Glinda.
Yeah, and they have Idina do her big riff.
Yeah.
And
Cynthia's
it's before
is better.
Cynthia. But I was like, it's funny to watch because I was like, you would think that like Cynthia, knowing this is coming, would kind of be like, I don't want her gagging me and doing this before I do.
But she can handle it.
But then it's like the way that she bodies it, it's like she had no reason to be intimidated. That's how you had to know she kind of gagged it. She's like, yeah, Idina, you're the one who's famous for making this happen. I'll let you do it again.
Yeah.
Have your moment in the sun on the big screen.
But it's like you can't deny
I'm gonna come
Cynthia
back
wins
20 minutes later and blow it out of the water.
And also like her embodiment of the character not that you can divorce Wicked from the music, but if you could, I would still want Cynthia to be nominated because I just think she, like the scene in Dancing Through Life, and again, we're going to get into this on the Wicked Roundtable, don't worry, Babblers, but like my favorite part is Dancing Through Life, and
that's my favorite part too. Yes, AJ kind of tried to drag me for that, but I was like, I'm sorry. Like, no, it's so good.
AJ was wrong for that.
Honestly, if we really wanted to talk, Jonathan Bailey would be like my dark horse for best supporting actress. We
need to get this. We're already like past 2.5 hours, so I am gonna move us along, but maybe this will be a two-parter. But yeah, Jonathan Bailey. Babbling On. Pardon the interruption. Hey guys, just Hilton on the mic now. Happy season 2 of Babbling On. Thank you all for listening. And Michael and I could not stop babbling about award season, and so this episode has been broken into 2 parts to preserve the sanity of many involved, aka you. So stay tuned for next week as we wrap up this conversation.
I'm gonna talk about all the things that I wanna talk about. We'll just keep talking. We'll just keep talking. Just keep talking. Talking. For so long. We're babbling on. We're babbling on.
Babbling On is created, produced, and edited by Hilton Justin. The theme song is by Benny Coltoretta, featuring Callie Baker, and is produced by Benny Coltoretta and Jack Grouse. The artwork is by Hilton Dresden. Audio consultation from Kenzie Woodrow and Dallas Seeker. Special thanks to Alec Cohen, Natalie Roder-Waitman, Molly Montgomery, Nick Krause, and to everyone who has subscribed to Babbling On the Substack and refused to shut the fuck up.